Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan who's on a journey to know everything about object shows. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup. This is where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, for today's episode, you know what? I enjoyed the wheel concept. It got me to make a catch up in a day. So we are going to keep it moving, alright? We're actually going to do wheel part 2. Alright? We're going to keep it moving. We're going to utilize this wheel. We're going to do what it shows up with. Now, last time, the wheel was actually quite nice. The wheel was quite nice to me because, again, the length of each wheel sliver is very different. You know, with the shows to watch or not watch. But last time, it really was nice. It gave me stuff that was like all within like the 20 minutes, which ended up making for, you know, a small but relatively solid episode. So I'm curious if it's going to be me this time as well. But yeah, I guess I don't have too much else to really drop into it this time. We're gonna find out what the wheel has in store for us this time. Let's go over to wheel recording me, who should have a wheel to spin. Alright, hello, we are here at the wheel. 166 entries, increased by 2 from last time because I found 2 additional shows with entitled views that I hadn't originally added. If you're curious, it's these 2. If you know any others, by the way, that aren't in this list that got over 10,000 views in the past couple of months, let me know, because it can sometimes be difficult to find. Anyways, we are going to shuffle it as we do. We have a shuffle, and then we're going to spin, and we're going to do whatever it is. Alright, it's time to find out. Let's spin that wheel, or press Control Enter, but we're going to click to spin. Right click. We're gonna click to spin. Alright. Oh god. I'm always scared about this one. It's always scary to see in these moments. What are we watching? Bluba request. Okay, this is the request from the channel @Bluba. I think there's multiple that Bluba has requested, but we are doing the request in order. Basically, we're going to do the first request that Bluba had, and then we are keeping this on the board, because there is a second one. Alright, that's basically how this is going to work. But, yeah, let's see what the Bluba request one was. I'll have more info about it in due time. Alright, so the first out of 2 requests dropped by Bluba, also known as Cactus, is for, I believe, the first of their 2 shows, which is also the older one, which is entitled Battle For Bluba. Now, I, yet again, do not have much into it as of the time that they were, I think, did the request. I don't think episode 11 was out yet. Now, there are currently 11 episodes of it. They're not very long, though, so hopefully they shouldn't take us a long time to observe it. They're all published within roughly the range of like 3 months, so it seems like a relatively fast-paced production as well. Fast-paced episodes, fast-paced things. I'm not sure. We're gonna watch it, starting with episode 1, which is entitled Think of the Christmas Spirit. Alright, here we go. Alright, that is episode 1. I've been saying the name wrong. It's on Bluba's Blubble, which I guess makes sense with the name of the channel, right? Being like a Blubble. Yeah, it's kind of your classic object fooligan show. You end up having an intro that's longer than the episode. The challenge is mega simple. It's just do a face. I don't even know how the contestant that wins actually wins. I don't even know what they do. There's just like rainbow on the floor. But yeah, interesting designs, by the way. I do like it. There's a box with a lot of things in the box. There's like an entity. There's a window, including the blinds. There's like a heart it's a heart exclamation mark. There's a file folder where like the mouth is like the blue part of it. Black hat pillow, rainbow blocky. That's the one who wins, right? 73 ball, but they're like a ninja, a lamp, like these designs are pretty cool. I actually do enjoy these designs quite a bit. There's also Return, which is interesting. Feels very inspired off that fella from there's a fella in Animatic Battle that's like the fast forward, right? You know? So like, yeah, it seems pretty inspired. But yeah, overall, There's not too much to say about what happens in the episode, because nothing happens in the episode, but interesting cast, interesting characters. Let's see what more is coming in episode 2, which is entitled Ironmouse. Episode 2. Now, what's going on in this episode? I don't really know, but basically, we're listening to Ironmouse cry for me, or whatever it was called. And then Return really doesn't like that. By the way, I really like the fact that Return has arrows in place of arms. That's really cool. That's a good detail. But yeah, they hate it, and those are apparently the only speakers. And then they're gonna fly off and look at hella swag to Chipotle. However, Chipotle is closed. There's no more Chipotle because the bear fella. What was it? What was your name? You were no. There's I don't remember. My media literacy low. Okay, the bear that talks. Fred. No, that's like FNAF. Whatever. There's they end up they cause the incident as Chipotle, right? We end up having the intro, who's sped up from the last time, which is nice. I hope it just gets progressively faster every episode. That would be funny. I also have a feeling that this song will be getting into my head by the end. But yeah, the challenge is to get some speakers after, by the way, the eliminated contestant is that weird entity. They get sent over into like the gray lands. It's object 4, and yeah, the challenge is to get some speakers back, and the return feels bad. Well, they returned with some speakers. Ha ha! Humor. But yeah, there we go. That's that is pretty much the crux of the episode. There is like 7 or even like 10 seconds of just black screen at the end, which I am gonna say is felt a little bit suspicious. Felt like something was about to happen, but fortunately it didn't. So now you're gonna get hit with 10 seconds of silence, and then episode 3, which is entitled 2016. So what's going on? Okay, I don't know. Hold on, let me try to break down the events here. So there's a cat that shows up from behind a bush. They're hidden, but they seem like jealous. They want to be in the competition or something. But yeah, or they want some competitors. It's difficult to say. They have a very, very high pitch voice. It's actually nice, but it's they talk too fast, so it's really hard to understand. But then they end up having an idea. Light bulb shows up, and then you know what? Evil orb fella comes in, the lights get turned off, and this is like a portal, right? And then a bunch of fellas are just spawning in. Okay, can we see them? Not really, because there's actually like just 2 gigantic blurs on screen at all time, so we just can't see half of them. I thought, okay, maybe we're blurring one of the new characters, but we're not really, because Return is one of the characters that's getting blurred out. So like, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but our host here is just pretty much like, yo, alright then. They're not actually very bothered. The eliminated contestant ends up being the lamp. So they get eliminated, as they also turn off the lights in the universe. They're already dimmed, but now they're off. You have to turn them back on. The box just thinks really, I don't know, they manifest light, and then there we go. That's the episode. It's that happened. Did any of that make sense? I mean, maybe, I don't know. It depends on what the cat said, but I don't really know what the cat said. But yeah, the show really seems to be playing upon the rules of like, yo, I'ma hit y'all with something random at the beginning, and then we'll do the 20-second object fools class style, but I ain't gonna hit you with something random first, which is kind of interesting. But anyways, the 4th episode is entitled Hide and Leek. Go. Alright, that is episode 4. New characters are dropping down from the portal. Look, we're just starting to fetch the 64 fellas for the inevitable animatic battle style season 2 that this is gonna get. But yeah, new people keep appearing, and then we end up having the elimination. Now here we do the other gag, where we do dramatically slow down the pacing of the episode, even though it's not actually that long. But we do dramatically slow down the pacing of the episode because we need to read out a comment. And for some reason, these hosts for these Object Hooligan shows, they read comments in the slowest way I've ever seen. I don't know, bro. All of them, bro. There's a comment from TikTok, by the way, which is interesting because, of course, it does confirm that the show is on TikTok, which is interesting because, again, this is not a vertical show. So, I wonder how it's being displayed over there. But anyway, our proclamation marker, or you're called, ended up getting eliminated because they're not exclamation mark, I guess. Yeah, fair enough. The challenge is hide and seek, where they end up finding some other fellas. They use the Leek character, that's Hatsune Miku theme, because of course it is. And they find a bunch of people, including 73 Ball, which is hidden in some red location, and for some reason our host Blubble is very, very mad about this. You cannot hide in a red location. Hiding in a red location sucks. It's such a bad hiding spot, even though, I mean, he did find like 4 other people before he found 73 Ball, so I actually agree with 73 Ball. I mean, like, it's a pretty good location if you found nearly the entire rest of the cast before you found 73 Ball, right? Like, wasn't 73 Ball like the second to last person? Like, it was the last person found. The only other person was our fellow Window here. Where even were they? I don't even know. They were I don't. Is that a GTA? Because I did see like the GTA thing. Maybe that's a GTA like screenshot. That would make sense, right? That does kind of look like a GTA road. You know? You know, like a GTA road? Yeah, that does kind of look like a GTA. I don't know much about GTA. But, it does kind of have a GTA vibe to it. But anyways, yeah, dramatically slower episode. But it makes sense because it's doing the reading comment slowly gag, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But, at least one time, sure, I can allow it. Anyways, let's, I'm not predicting elimination, it's just whoever we're feeling at that second. Episode 5 is entitled Animal Crossing. Go. Alright, we're back to our regular scheduled programming. So, we don't know how many votes we got. We just know that 73 Ball got eliminated. This makes me imply that it's probably rigged, let's be honest. But yeah, 73 Ball gets eliminated, gets sent to the elimination area, which for some reason our entity down there, as well as maybe the other people who got sent down there, have just turned into Fortnite Island. I guess they managed to escape into the Fortnite Islands. Alright then. The challenge is to cross the bridge. The cat manages to cross the bridge, and then that's the episode. Yep, great stuff. A lot to say on this one. But yeah, we are actually doing the gag of the intro getting progressively faster. I mean, it's not getting consistently faster, which is unfortunate. You know, it's just kind of going like mega fast, and then it goes back to normal fast, and it goes mega fast, and it goes to omega fast, right? Like it's doing these things. And in this case, the outro it has got a different song. You know, Miles, one of the greatest rappers ever lived. In fact, doing it. I'm not sure why this is called Animal Crossing, by the way. I actually. Oh no, because the cat. I get it. No, never mind. Because the cat crossed the bridge and it's an animal, so it was an animal okay, whatever. Alright. Episode 6 of this show is called, and this is the name of the episode, it's called I'd Crack TF Outta Grace Ashcroft. This is the worst episode yet. I'm sorry. Not my words, but we're gonna go. You know, maybe like I should like have like a protocol in place that like when like something really, really dumb happens in a show episode I watch, I should like protest it. I should like do something protesting, so that because we can't keep doing this. we can't. I'll do the entire review in Animal Lease, you know, like the Animal Crossing language. Well, how do they speak in Animal Crossing? They go like yeah, just do the entire review like that. you know. But anyways, yeah, I mean, it's definitely an episode, which is this is an unfortunate episode because that's actually an interesting idea. Like, but Rainbow Blog gets eliminated because yes, but we end up having the challenge concept for this episode being that pretty much everybody gets painted a color and you have to remove the paint. Now it's apparently permanent paint, which makes it lame because the only way to get rid of permanent paint would theoretically be to dye get recovered. So like it would So it's not exactly very useful to really do that, you know. And even then, depending on who or what you ask, it would come back with it, like, you know, depending on like how recovery works. So like it ends up being not the greatest. I think if it was paint, it would just get rid of the paint normally. I think that would be a nicer challenge. And that way, by the way, the paint does get removed after they, you know, do something. to Grace Ashcroft. By the way, I have no idea who Grace Ashcroft is, so I apologize to Grace Ashcroft. No, I mean I could see it from the image. It is this character. Now, you know, this looks like a Resident Evil character, probably, maybe. And you know, we do end up having like Resident Evil does have that kind of art style, so I'm gonna guess that it's from Resident Evil, but I don't actually do too much. Again, you'll notice anytime any piece of media is mentioned, I'll just be like, yeah, I don't know that one. You know, but like, you know, it definitely gives all those Resident Evil vibes. Anyways, why am I talking about this episode as if it deserves any of my attention? Let's go to episode 7 already. Episode 7 is entitled BFDI TPOT 24, BFB 32, IDFB 2, BFDIA 26, BFDIE 11, BFDI 26, FCBA 2. Whew. Alright, that is episode 7. Oh, hold on. Alright, just as a little bit of like a general tip. If a character is about to say something of relevance, like a piece of information, maybe have that character be capable of saying it. Because I cannot understand this fella at the end. Right? Because like I understand that they are saying the thing, but they're stumbling upon their words while having a heavy voice filter on them to make them higher pitch, and also an extremely delayed echo that's like significantly more echo than is even remotely reasonable. So it's like, I don't know what they said. They can turn random objects into it was something. All right, but anyways, let's start from the beginning here, because these episodes are getting things are happening. So our window fella's eliminated. R.I.P. We end up having the intro, which is slowed down. By the way, it's been slowed down the past 2 episodes. I didn't mention it last time because the last episode has some other things going on. But like, yeah, that has been happening, because I guess like we exhausted the joke of it going fast. It's like, what's funnier than that since we did it go fast? Well, let's do it go slow, right? So we haven't gotten too creative for it, you know. Get creative, play it in reverse or something, play it upside down, do something. Come on, creativity. But anyways, yeah, we do have the intro. And then we end up having the challenge be to say something. I actually do enjoy how this challenge progresses, because, I mean, this is the very classic object fooling challenge, do a thing and then a character does a thing. But here, at least, in the challenge of saying something, there is actually a competition for saying something. The boss says it first, but return is very nearby, right, and says it a little bit after. So I'm nice to see that, like, in these mega simple challenges, there is actually a basis of competition for it being done. So I actually like that a lot. It's different than how it's usually done, which I think is pretty nice. And then we end up having our void fella, where again, I don't know, the cat can turn random objects into something. I don't really know. There is definitely some there is definitely the repeated swear word usage, including N-word usage, which I will personally never judge, because I don't know, right? Like, of course, I will always give it the benefit of the doubt and be like, you're probably allowed to say that. So yeah. Anyways, episode 8 is entitled Calm Before the Storm. Go. Okay, Okay, that is episode 8. So I think I'm understanding. Maybe not. Probably not. But let's try to see. So I think what's going on is this black cat generates the people themselves. The ones that are sort of, I guess, forming their army. Because it seems like they're maybe building up an army stronger and stronger. And each one of them is named after a number, if you actually pay attention. It's kind of hard to tell because majority of their designs include the numbers written as an antennae. However, the antennae is black and the background is black. So you can barely read it. But yeah, each character is named after a number. So there's number 33, there's number 40, the 48, there's 44, right? Like each character, they're like a species, and it seems like the black cat is generating more and more of them. So they just have an infinite supply, right? And they're doing this to get sort of more stronger and more powerful. And they seem to be doing this to, I guess, try to take over the world, right? As one of them has the Infinity Gauntlet. However, importantly, I don't think they have the Infinity Stones. I think they're missing 3, right? At least from the design. You see that there's 3 yellow spots, which means that there's nothing there, right? Because the 3 Infinity Stones are theoretically with Blubble right here, who's giving it to the final 3, which, by the way, file folder ended up getting eliminated. So I think this is what's happening. They're about to launch an attack to try to fetch the last Infinity Stones from the final 3, as they each get 1 or something. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. What's going on? By the way, I'm a big fan of the way that our cat fella ends up sort of fading into the elimination screen, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, them and Box are up for elimination. Which also, by the way, I think confirms a return in the finale, or at least in one of the finale. Well, no, there's 30 more episodes to go, so the finale is not soon, but something's gonna happen. But that way, yeah. Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm gonna say is that I do actually compliment the number fellas. I do actually enjoy it quite a bit. Of them being relatively like boxy in their nature rather than being ships, but then also having the number in it. It's like a different take on the number character, right? Because I think that, you know, we're so inclined to the existence of the algebraian, right? and having number characters look exactly like how an algebraian does, that actually seeing a different, distinct take on characters named and based after numbers. So having numbers directly, so having like a baseline design with features around the number itself in the way that it's formatted is actually relatively interesting, and it's unique, so I actually do enjoy it quite a bit. So yeah, I'm actually an approver of this. Anyways, let's go to episode 9, which is entitled The Worst Day of Blubble's Life. Go! Alright, I think we might have to retire this wheel, bro, because how is this the second day in a row where I've had to sit here and talk about Charlie Kirk? We gotta stop, like, we gotta talk, we gotta have a talk, dude. We gotta start picking different. Otherwise, I don't know if we can keep it moving like this, dude. Like, what the hell? But this episode is actually interesting because it includes because it activates this one situation that's starting to get activated more and more. It's a formula that I now remember, but I don't remember from what, right? Because having watched over 2,000 episodes now, and you know, having taken multiple times breaks and, you know, stuff, like, not everything's in my mind anymore, but I still remember, like, but I still get the deja vu from it, right? Which means that this is a formula. This is the exact formula I've seen before, right? We get a review, right? Like the show gets a review. The review says that it's omega terrible, right? And then the challenges start them for killing themselves, right? Like this is I remember this. You know, like a show did this. I think it had like a Moist Critical picture or something. Like like a show did this, but what show did this? I don't know. Like, you see, like it's crazy how I just don't remember anymore. There's too much. Like, I remember it happening. I don't remember what it was. I don't think that with whatever show I did watch which had it wasn't the original source either. Like, I think this show, like, I think the source of this joke are from something else, dude. I saw the comments maybe mentioning a Showvember reference, so maybe it's that. Where it's from, but either way, I don't think the original source of this formula is here, which is relatively interesting. But other than that, I mean, we just kind of follow the formula very, very much so to the T. But again, of course, with you know, some shenanigans going on. Apparently the contestants that were popping in were supposed to be for a debut. The debut got cancelled because we did not bother. So unfortunate for those other fellas. They are retired to be in the second season. But yeah, the fella does successfully shoot themselves. They do the battle for nothing gag, because of course they do. With the intro still slowed down for some reason. And then we end up having to vote to win, because what else are we gonna do? It's a very pretty vote to win. Who should win? I mean, absolutely Return. If there's any character that embodies the kind of chaotic energy of the show, with kind of swearing, we're going quickly, we're getting involved in all the bits, it's Return. Return absolutely gets involved, gets into the mixer. Does that while Boxers was much more of a spectatory type character, did things more silently, you know, suffers a bit more from the text-to-speech voice. So, like, even though their design is better, I mean, even both of their designs are actually quite good designs. I actually like both of their designs quite a bit. I do think that Returns is probably a little bit better, and it should, and yeah, realistically deserves to win it. Yeah, overall, it's interesting. It's just really, like, it's one of the most unfortunate things about, like, the catch up in the long term. It's this type of thing where I know I've seen this before. I just don't know what. I don't know what show had this gag. I don't know what it was. Was it like Object Point might have had this gag even? You know, maybe the Frazzle Dazzle shows, the ones like the Clafley Object show might have had it. I don't know. I don't know. It drives me insane when I don't know these. Like, it's like, dude, it's very frustrating. But oh well. Episode 10, it's entitled Behold Durr. Alright, this is episode 10 of Battle for Bluba. Now, the debutants, or I guess anti-debutants, are chilling, just kind of having a conversation. Now, apparently, our the happiness speaker box is doing pretty well. They're showing Durr to people, which is a pretty adorable face, I gotta admit, and it is making people smile, which is pretty nice. But then they're having the main issue, the cat entity fella ends up encountering the cat companion thing, which I don't really know what's going on with that still. I don't know if that's supposed to, or like, are they in cahoots? Like, are they like a thing? Like are they working together, or is this a manipulation? Like, I don't really know. Because again, we've done the absolutely terrifying decision of making the character who only speaks when they're saying something really important about the plan that they're doing, but they make them speak with a voice filter, and also at like 2.5 times speed. So like, you just cannot understand it. It's just impossible, right? And I mean, like, look, it's one of those things where, I mean, you can understand it. I am a bad example because I am bad at understanding speech by default, actually. But, like, just because I'm bad at understanding speech by default, that makes me one of the you know, like, one of the types of people which you're gonna want to try to target, right? Because it's like, if I can understand it, pretty much anybody can, right? Is kind of the main thing, right? And one must remember, especially when making an episode, that you know, I don't know what this cat is going to say at any given time, right? Where, like, if you know what you're going to say and you're listening back to the audio and you're listening to it and it makes sense, right? It's in the same way, like, for example, if you hear a song you never heard before, it's actually probably going to be pretty tough for you to understand the lyrics, depending on what song it is, right? But then if you're looking at a lyric video, everything that says, it becomes so much more clear because you know what's supposed to be said, right? And that's kind of what one has to do when audio editing as well, right? Like, when he knows what we're supposed to be saying, it's way easier to understand than when you don't, right? So you have to picture yourself not knowing what the sentence is before it hits, all right? If that's the best. That's one of my top recommendations, I guess. We have to revive Bluba anyways, and we proceed, but I do like the interactions of random other characters, by the way. I do think that's relatively nice. It gives a more universe to the fellas. We reuse the Battle for Nothing intro, and yeah, we need to revive the fella. We end up going over to the box, to fetch Ironmouse from the box. The box is reasonably concerned about how Ironmouse was in the box. And by the way, I actually do think there's a pretty good detail that it tickles the box if you actually search it with it, because it would, right? But yeah, Ironmouse proceeds to say hello, Blubble, and Blubble in fact comes back to life. Charlie's review has also changed because Ironmouse is back in, which means positive ratings. So we're gonna need to see. In the meantime, while everybody's distracted doing that, our cat fella, which has now been possessed, cohorted into the cat pillow. I don't know if it steals the Infinity Stones, right? The 2 Infinity Stones. Plus, they already had one of their own accord, right? I think from making the top 3. So they do that, and therefore they have all the Infinity Stones. So now that they have the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet, they're about to launch an Infinity War. Ooh, epic bars. Yeah, they're about to launch an Infinity War, and get shit, and get shit to go down. So let's see. It's not the first time we've had an Infinity War type thing in an object shot. Let's see how it's gonna tackle it in episode 11, appropriately titled Infinity War. Go. Alright, so that is episode 11 of Battle for Bluba. So, object point anymore? Yeah, I mean, like, I think the review gag as well arise from object point. Like, now that I'm, like, thinking about it more deeply, the one that I was hella confused about, earlier, yeah, I mean, this takes a lot of beats, of course, from the Object Point finale, which does the same gag of being an Infinity War type, like, thing, of, fetching the stones, and then eventually, having an epic battle, and then zapping the thing, and then everybody dies, and then Endgame happens, theoretically, afterwards, right? Which, yeah, now, I think it makes sense that I didn't quite remember it, because, like, again, you gotta understand from my perspective, right? Is that even though object point adjacent shows, I've actually watched quite a couple now, because of just requests and other shenanigans, because that community subsect is definitely definitely found the point catch up. It's that like the best way for me to explain my viewpoint is that, like, it was November. Like, just understand, I watched Object Point and I was at 26. I have never re-watched Object Point. Like, I've of course watched, like, FourPoint ever since then, the episodes that are released of that, and then certain things. But Object Point itself, I watched it then and I haven't watched it since, right? So, like, a lot of the specifics of it is there. So, like, what specific gags are taken and aren't taken from that Object Point finale here, I'm not sure. Like, I remember the baseline beats of that episode, but I don't remember it entirely, right? The winner ended up being Return, by the way. Return ends up winning the show with 10 votes. They get the Blubble, which is basically their power, apparently. So they basically get their power. They don't get the maximum version of the power, but they get pretty strong power. All right, level 51 power. Again, I don't really know what that means, but level 51 power has been acquired, all right? But yeah, Return and Box end up being relatively close together in this episode, which is pretty interesting. Look, all I'm saying, the creator drew one frame of them kissing, and they had to make sure to get the mileage out of that. they had to make sure, that wasn't gonna be effort gone to waste. And fair enough. But yeah, we end up having the intro again in its slowed down variant. Then again, we end up making our own Omega army with the Infinity Gauntlet, so they proceed to attack. The side characters proceed to slowly die. Our fellas here are going to save the world. Well, I mean, Return is supposed to theoretically save the world, but then the boss get a little bit distracted. They're supposed to still get a couple of the orbs for the Gauntlet, which are all fucking like GD trails. They're all like Johnny Dash trails. Again, or like, I think 33 is still against the whole shebang, but like, they seem outnumbered and wanting to do it against the other numbers who all seem to want to do the attack. Doss comes back, by the way. Return and Boss has had a kid. Now, I do annoyingly have to say that this is a pretty good design combination. I like the fact that the antennae, not like the character has R's, but the antennae are poking out from the top as if it were part of the box. I do actually like that as a concept. But, Blubble is distracted by Ironmouse. Then we proceed to just kind of fetch the orbs. It's actually not that difficult. We end up having the brother of return, which is reverse, who drops by, hands them an orb or something. So they run away with it. And then, they're still looking pretty powerful. They do the sacrificing thing. I'm pretty sure the sacrificing gag of, like, getting somebody at random and sacrificing them off the cliff, I'm pretty sure is 100% gotten for Object Point. If I like this one 100% happened exactly in that way. Like, in that exact way. Which all right, then, we take it pretty much on the dot. So yeah, we just kind of end up doing that. And then our 86 ends up getting the orb on them, and they also proceed to die immediately after, because why not? They're doing an attack against the armies. Now, even though they actually win the armies, hard exclamation mark, actually utilizing a little bit of their algebraianistic powers to get rid of a lot of the cat army, is however hella struggling, because the cat proceeds to still have the power to snap half of the world gone. Yep, and they proceed to, of course, do that because we're doing the movie. So yeah, a couple of people die, including Box and the Rainbow Blocky and some other fellas. And then the episode theoretically ends, as we're supposed to, of course, head into the endgame movie now, which is it's interesting, right? As a scenario that we place ourselves in. Now, the Object Point end game ended up... How similar was it to the... It wasn't very similar, right? Because Object Point Endgame was, like, quite a bit different. But I don't remember what they did in Object Point Endgame. Oh, God. Did you see what I mean? This is specific detail recall from 1,500 watched episodes ago. Like, it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do. It's so important to this because of course how much it even admits the show admits itself that it's very Object Point core. But I did it's very, very similar. But like, yeah, I can't remember it too well. But like, it's interesting. It is absolutely interesting to see the show here. And in terms of what I've currently figured about the show, I don't think the show's on. Theoretically, there should be the endgame episode if we're doing the Object Point script. And it also wouldn't make too much sense for it to finish here. Did the endgame one start with Karma Waits? Or was that a different show? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But like, in general, what I thought about this, it was pretty random. It's like slow. It sort of shifted. It ended up being like a weird, like I would say it's a blend, but it's not really a blend. It ended up kind of shifting. It was doing Object Fool, right, for like the first batch of episodes, pretty much just doing that. But then it just added its own random skit at the beginning for 20 seconds. And then as time passes, right, as the episodes go on, it slowly starts to morph itself back into... It slowly just starts to morph itself into Object Point, right? It loses some of the things that made the Fool aesthetic, but it then just starts going more into Object Point kind of random-ass lore bullshit. Right, random-ass lore with edgy humor type thing. So it kind of morphs it. So it ends up morphing between the two different show styles, which makes it, a technically unique show within its own right, but like not like it's unique, but it's not original. That's like the main thing that's unfortunate about it, right? It has some good design. It has some good character designs. It has some it has a couple of interesting ideas sprinkled in, whether it's within the challenges or like the characters themselves, or like interactions or like specific jokes that are cool, right? Like even though again I'm not judging the humor of the show too much because again it's so unbelievably out of line. Like it's so unbelievably out of line for my type of humor, but like it's again I have to point it out every time. I point it out for Object Point every time, so I have to point it out for this every time as well. That is not my type of humor, but I don't judge it for that. And I'm going in with the basis that the jokes are fine and are funny. So like basically yeah, all these things are kind of combined. And as as it needs to combine, however, it feels like it doesn't dare too much to try to have to try to deviate in any type of narrative way, because anytime it's doing a narrative thing, it ends up kind of like it does a narrative thing that's directly inspired mega off of something. It never like takes a narrative idea that's supremely its own, you know? Because anytime, like, for example, even how the episodes start with like their own gags, right? Like they start with their own gags, but like they immediately take the 180 back, you know? Like they kind of just like they speed it back, you know, and then we don't actually end up doing anything too original, right? Which is kind of the unfortunate landscape. And it's mainly what I would recommend, right? Is that I understand the inspiration, but like, and you can have the inspiration in the format and stuff, but I think it should dare a little bit more to function the main plot of an episode outside of it. Because like, for as much as of course I memed on it, the one episode which really does in a way do what I'm saying is like episode 6. Like that does in a way do what I'm saying, you know? Like it takes its own creative liberty to sort of break away from the formulaicness of Four and just object point gags to sort of do its own thing. Now, what it does is questionable, but it does the thing, you know, and that makes it more memorable and more original. So that's totally what I recommend. It's kind of dare more, you know, like okay, you can do gags from it, but then add your own sprinkle in, you know, like if you want to add the object point script into it, sure, but then add a thing in between, you know, make it 50-50 or something, make it 25-75, you know, like have a portion of it, not the entirety of it, is basically what I'm thinking. You know, and I mean like in the main plot details, right? Again, the specific gags and lines are a little bit different, but I mean like in the grand scheme, it should be like if you write the grand scheme of this and you write the grand scheme of that object point finale, it's or the object point infinity work, because you know the end game was the finale, right? Like if you write these like the general bullet point, it's gonna be a very similar procedure, right? You want to have that broad spectrum bullet point list be different, right? Right, and then like in the specifics, yeah, it's always going to be different because a different person made it. But like in the broad strokes, it should be different. That's kind of what I think. But yeah, overall, nice little sprinkles on of ideas in a show that maybe doesn't dare enough to try to create an identity. Next. Well, you know what's next. It's a wheel spin. So it's time to go over and, of course, spin that wheel. Let's go. Alright then, we are back at the wheel. The amount of entries is actually not changed because, as I said before, Bluba had a second request beyond just this one, meaning that the entry itself stays on there because there's another request that would appear like we would watch something different if it were to reappear. Alright, so the entry count has not actually decreased. Let's see if we're gonna make it decrease after this next spin. Here we go. I have no idea what's in common. I have no idea what's coming. It could be something scary, could be something good. Let's see. It is going to be the timzipooOSC keepup. Well then, that has been the theme. So I just object pointed up, I guess, bro. Well then, let's keep our deranged episode going with some FourPoint shenanigans. But first, I lied because before we observe the many new episodes of FourPoint, there's actually a new episode over 3 months ago of Untitled Insanity. So yeah, I was due to watch these already. It is entitled The Neglected. The Untitled Insanity episodes have now been unnumbered, and usually I don't actually look at unnumbered series, but since this one was a series that I was already looking at, I'm still gonna observe it. So yeah, Untitled Insanity The Neglected is up first, as a reminder for what happened last time. What happened last time? We like went to hell or something, but dude, and then we found a portal because there's like a little devil thing or something. It's Untitled Insanity episodes are crazy, but they're usually not too connected to each other. So yeah, The Neglected. Alright, that is Untitled Insanity. No number anymore. I've neglected. Again, I'm pretty sure this episode also better released with a numbering and then got it removed. I don't remember when. It was a while ago already that the numbering got removed. But yeah, last time we took a look at Untitled Insanity, it was Untitled Insanity 3, but now none of them have numbers anymore. But anyways, I still cover Untitled Insanity mainly because I find it kind of interesting because it's got a kind of weird mission statement, right? Like, it's got a kind of weird formula that it's trying to build, right? Because it's supposed to be kind of, partially that more unhinged style, right? That, defines the timzipoo comedy, but at the same time, it wants to do that while playing to rules. Right, like it wants to sort of have some degree of logic playing to it, right? Whereas, like, for example, with stuff like FourPoint, which we'll take a look at for quite a bit after this, like, it's pretty much just allowed to be random bullshit go, right? Like, it's allowed to just be random stuff that happens. Whereas this still wants to follow rules, to not be fully based on reference humor. Right, like the jokes that it makes here are relatively grounded to its own universe. There's like one or two, of course, but like on average, the jokes that happen here are entirely within their logic. They're not a reference, right, to something external. And of course, it wants to play via a bit more, the cartoon logic of the whole deal. And in terms of how this episode does it, I would say that it actually does a pretty good job at it. I'm not gonna lie, because it follows a relatively baseline type cartoon episode script, but it really does remind you of the type of cartoon episode like plot line, right? So what is the plot line of this episode? It's roughly like, if you were to give a synopsis on IMDb, what would you write? It's pretty much like Eli, while attempting to get viral, has asked Michael to upload their video, and Michael accidentally uploads his own video and proceeds to get viral off of that, making Eli jealous and having Eli try to take Michael back down after Michael is dealing with all of the fame and the other situations, right, that's going on. And then they have this kind of back and forth, which is pretty solid, because it does remind quite a bit of certain episodes of shows. I'm not gonna ever remember, but there's absolutely, like, it's definitely a cartoon episode to have somebody get like overwhelmingly rich for an episode and then be like, this is not made to last. Like episodes about getting famous, episodes about getting rich, right? All of these things, and then the kind of having that be like a temporary thing, like, so like, it does kind of have that air, right? It has that air of things like that happening, right? Which is relatively nice. But actually talking, I guess, about the episode's events from 1 to 1, we end up, of course, having Eli's video. Eli's video involves I guess they're not even dancing; they're just like moving their head while like making sounds. You know those sounds from the OMG or OM, what was it called? OMFG, like boom. How do you do this? How do you do these sounds? No, it's cooler than that. Okay, it's cooler than how that's supposed to be. But yeah, they try to do that. Then, but when we have again, Michael doing the recording. Now, by the way, there is, I would like to remember that there is also a third member of this trio, quote unquote, junior, which pretty much doesn't show up the entire time. I'm not gonna lie. They get like one scene of like dubious degree of relevancy, and they show up like 3 times in total throughout the episode. So they didn't get written a lot, which is, unfortunate. But like, in a way, I also don't mind, right? Like, I could judge that it's not getting a lot of screen time, but again, you know, I would like to think about Gumball in these scenarios, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, like, you know, Gumball and Darwin are usually going to be in every episode, but like, Annie doesn't have to, you know, like kind of that type of situation. So I think it's understandable, right? Although I would personally, I would probably have rooted Junior into the script a bit more, because like, you can. You know, you could have had them two team up together or something to take down Michael. You know, like, you could have included them into the script. It wouldn't have been very hard. Like, you know, like really, it wouldn't have been. But, you know, alright. Then we end up having them fall into a pool. They get recorded. We upload the video. It gets 1 view and -5 dislikes. Now, all I'm saying is that a negative dislike is a double negative, which means that it's possible. Which means that it's positive. Right? Like -5 dislikes would be the equivalent of 5 likes, no? Because they're not disliking, they're anti-disliking. You know? So it's actually pretty alright. I mean, it got more anti-dislikes than it got views. Right, which means that the view really must have enjoyed it, you know, and all that jazz. So, yeah. Then again, we proceed to upload the video, and we end up uploading the video on accident. That Michael uploaded their little silly dance, their silly dance, and they end up uploading it to their own YouTube, by the way. Which is interesting because, of course, this is the same computer, which implies that the dance that got 1 view, quote unquote, was uploaded on what channel? Because, like, this I feel like is untapped potential with the concept. By the way, I feel like one of the most interesting things you could have done with the concept would have been to have, like, for example, you know, if it was uploading it for Eli and it uploaded the wrong thing, then, you know, wouldn't it have been interesting to be like that Eli just gets called Michael now? You know, like, Eli got famous, but it's Michael's name. You know, like it's interesting possibility. But we don't end up doing that. And then, of course, Michael uploads that video and proceeds to get 1 billion views, and everybody stands outside the house. And is pretty joyous about this. We're not having the intro. The new president of the United States, and then of course Eli is not happy about this news because, you know, they were supposed to be viral and not our other fella here. Now, there is obviously one thing that is true, which is not factored in by our fellas over here very much. Is that, you know, there can be more than one famous person at a time. I have to point this out. Eli never thinks it's true that Michael uploaded his video on his channel and got popular off of that. That has zero correlation to anything Eli's doing. But the fact that Michael accidentally, instead of uploading Eli's video, uploaded his own video to his own channel, right, still completely allows Eli to go viral, technically. I mean, of course, Eli is currently not going viral because he's bad or whatever society decided, right? But, like, on average, you know, like, come on. What are we doing? Like, we can totally get viral again, but, you know, we don't think that through. Then we proceed to go into some random ass bar. We end up going on to the Ellen show, by the way, because of course you do. Wow, what's an epic show that Michael is on now. Then Michael wakes up into their new mansion, which they now have. They have this butler as well as the bodyguard, which is like a sumo wrestler fella. This bodyguard, by the way, proceeds to never appear again, I think. Even though, you know, there's supposed to be a bodyguard, and, you know, there was a guy who came in with a shotgun. Nope, that guy not there anymore. The butler proved more resistance than the bodyguard. The bodyguard just blitzed out of there. But, you know, that's kind of intelligent now that I think about it. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe that's actually smart moves right there from our fella. But, yeah, again, Eli comes in with a shotgun, because of course you do. Then apparently, there's some allegations being brought up, so they proceed to walk, to take a long trip around their mansion, until they find, Eli, who's about to shoot them. But as Eli's about to shoot them, then they're getting stopped by Junior, being like, what the hell y'all doing? And it turns out that Junior apparently is the one who took him down because, Eli's tactic was to murder him, but our fella Junior was just hacked their Twitter account and was just tweeting random bullshit, right? Which has taken Michael off of the pedestal. But you see what I mean? Different identities different people can do things under different identities. You see, I mean, the idea of having the viral video be attributed to the wrong person would have been very interesting. I'm not gonna lie. But we don't end up doing that. But yeah. So then they get brought down to the level, and then our fellow Michael's very sad because, of course, they're not brought down to their level, right? Because by doing that, you're brought down to a hated level. For as much as Eli is not unfunny, according to the general public, right? They're not hated. If you bring Michael down from the pedestal by saying hateful things, then they are hated. So they're not brought down to Eli's level. They're brought down to below Eli's level. And there's nothing that they can really do about it from there, right? Eventually we have an epic conversation on a bridge. For some reason, whether Michael has a shirt on or doesn't have a shirt on is entirely dependent on the scene. We end up having having some random frames of a fellow German man who, is there to be the thumbnail. So, fair enough. We end up... actually, wasn't there an Austrian man? Yeah, it was like an Austrian. It was like an Austrian man. I'm sorry, my my bad. I forgot my history. You see how much I don't care. But we end up having to be sad. But they don't actually end up solving anything, by the way. They don't end up finding the solution. They end up just being like, yo, we gotta get about how we used to be. Those times where we don't be used to be. Eli barely explains anything. He's just like, yo, remember those times we hung out? Let's keep doing that. And then, this is, I don't know if I would necessarily agree. If I was Mike, I low-key wouldn't apologize. Cause bro was like, oh, let's make it how we used to be. It was like, yeah, that was your goal, bro. That you did all of this entirely to do that. Come on. We could have done that while I had money. Me having money was not it didn't necessarily mean that we couldn't hang out, but alright, I guess it did mean that, so, Eli's wrong. And then they, get together at the end, and that solves it, apparently, even though it really doesn't. It really doesn't do anything. I don't know. I don't know about the hate mob in the back end. They really didn't improve at any of that. But, yeah, that is the episode. I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm gonna be honest. I'm pleasantly surprised by that episode. It's overall relatively nice. It's relatively smooth. It keeps to it's a very neutered version of the timzipoo humor, but it's there. You can feel it, right? Especially this episode is especially a little bit more chill. But I kind of like that, right? I kind of like that because it ends up being a little bit more my style, right? Because I don't like I'm not super into the omega unhinged stuff, right? So this kind of relaxed unhinged stuff that still follows a baseline plot that's not too illogical. I actually enjoy quite a bit, right? So I approve of this, actually. I approve. But anyways, it's time to go to shenanigans because it's time to go look at FourPoint. Now we're gonna start off here. We're going to go out of order because we're going to start with 4.1. Yes, because 4.1 I think got remade or something. I don't really know. But yeah, it seemed to have been been remade. And 4.1 is entitled Didn't We Do This Already? And by checking the 4-point playlist, by checking the object point playlist, which has 4-point in it, you can see that 4.1 has been sufficiently replaced with this new version. So we're gonna take a look at this new version and give a quick little chat about what it's supposed to be, because I don't really know. So 4.1, didn't we do this already? Alright, that is the 4.1 remake. Now, I'm pretty sure that there's a Is there a 4.2 remake? There's a 4.2 HD. I don't know what that means, to be honest. Is it different? Did it change? I don't know what what happened to it? Like, I don't, I don't know. But yeah, there is a 4.1. Now, the best way for me to this, we're not watching that 4.2. Okay, I don't care. If it is different, then it did not clarify it enough. So this 4.1 is kind of a remake. It's more so a chop. It's more so a speed run. It's like a 4.1 speedrun. It's found crucial time saves to make this episode shorter. Now, do I think that this episode needed to be shorter? No, but at the same time, I totally understand it, because here's the thing about 4.1, and it's and especially, you know, again, observing how the rest of the series proceeds to play along, it's quite interesting, is that 4.1 is actually an extremely irrelevant episode. Like, super irrelevant, because like it's just the first couple of minutes of an episode of an episode 1, but like but then as soon as a host appears, it ends, right? When usually that would be like the start, that would be like the first quarter of an episode, right, of a large cast episode. Usually like the first quarter will do that, but then the rest no, right? So like the episode itself actually does nothing except introduce the host and have those other fellas, you know, who are like going to Yodeland, right? Like this is interesting. So my personal thing to do would have probably been to combine it. I would have probably had this shortened down version and then combine with episode 2 to have an episode 1 that's 20 minutes. That would have maybe been the idea, because that makes way more sense. It's just more. It's just a more complete product, you know, if it gets combined. Now, I have a feeling I know why that wouldn't happen, and I think the reason why that would not happen is because the object point sort of timeline is functioning upon this rule set, and the rule set that it's functioning upon is that it's gonna do its own shenanigans, right? However, it has to do its own shenanigans on a time limit that is TPOT. On the time limit that is like the show. That it's the BFDI counterpart, because you can see that like it had a season. Right, like it had the season 1, it had the season 2 that lasted 5 episodes, right? And then the 6th one gets cancelled. Yeah, season 1 didn't last 25 episodes, but you get it, right? Like, you roughly understand, right? The season 2, then there's the season 3, it's only 1, there's a short, then there's the 4-point that's theoretically gonna last all the way until the split, and then something's gonna happen, right? Like this type of shit is about to go down, right? And because of that, we want to probably just get the episode count up, so that way we can split the show already. Right? So we don't want to decrease the number of episodes. We actually probably want to increase the number of episodes. So like having this type of arbitrary cutoff between this episode and the episode 2, which realistically should be the same episode, makes sense. I mean, like, it's fine. But yeah, the chart down here is relatively nice. It's it does sacrifice 1 or 2 characters. There's like a couple that basically don't show up, right, which ends up being a little bit unfortunate. It's also one of the main questions about the large cast intro. That's always sort of an interesting question to ask, is that how much should get introduced before the plot starts, right? Because it's one of the biggest questions for a lot of the talk show. Like, BFB does barely anything at all, you know. Like, BFB1 does just a couple of minutes, but at the same time, BFB1 has a big power of having characters you already know, right? Having characters you're mostly familiar with. A lot we weren't, but on average, you were familiar with a big portion of the cast, right? But then, for example, if you look at something like Animatic Battle, if you look at AB1, I mean, it takes 20... I don't know when Animatic shows up, but I swear it was like over 20 minutes into the episode, right? Because it has to introduce I know Object Fool happened, but like a mainly new cast of like 50 names, right? Which is a really large amount, right? So like it's a little bit of a debate. But here it manages to do that. It does successfully introduce everybody, while, you know, maybe mildly reducing the power of some of them. I think the only one that doesn't get introduced, like, you know, that gigantic lamp. I don't think I saw that gigantic lamp in this episode. The one that's really, really, really tall. I don't think I saw that one in the episode, or like that group. But like, or no, I guess Mouse is part of that group, right? So I guess we did see Mousy. But yeah, and also some of the gags, and also the gags that kept in as well, does mean that there's less of a break between similar gaps, because 4.1 for some reason is just a big fan of telling people to kill themselves, which is interesting. It uses the same exact voice clip as well, which at least does make it a recurring gag, but like, you know, the fact, but like, it is with less breathing room between them, it starts to be like, okay bro, this is the 5th time you've said it in 7 minutes, and it's like, alright. You know, like, it starts to be like a little bit, bro, I mean, what are we doing? But yeah, overall, I mean, I think that that like, it's fair enough to do. I don't know, it's a bit of a weird decision. It's a little bit of a weird decision, because it's like, it's understandable, but at the same time, it's like, who complained? You know, who was like, oh shit, I'm getting too much screen time with the character. Right, because I mean, like, it's FourPoint, huh? Like, FourPoint is a show about just random bullshit happening with the character. Right, the fact that it's a competition or not, or whatever's going on, like, it barely matters, right? So it's just kind of about skits and gags with the characters. So who was like, oh shit, we got a little bit too many funnies, you know? We're getting too many funnies. We need less of them. And I mean, alright, okay. Cool. I know, it's a bit weird, but no, I guess it makes sense. I think there was an Untitled Insanity reference that got removed or something as well, by the way, which, like, poor Untitled Insanity getting erased, the erasure, you know, and everything. But yeah, again, you know, I've not really talked about the plotline of this episode too much, because again, it just the characters talk. You know, the characters have a talk, the characters die, the characters tell each other to die, the characters go, again, those other fellas go to Yo-Yo Land, it's pretty cool. They take a car, they steal a car, they do some murders, then they recover the murders, and then they do everything, and then they use the magnet, and then the magnet gets used, and then it goes like, you know, as the magnet does. And then as it does that, we end up having the, you know, the strawberry call out for anybody to help because they're wondering if phone is fine or not, and then we end up having the Evo phone comes in, and then the Evo phone ends up exploding the screen, and then the star fella ends up showing up and saying, hi guys, and then the star guy proceeds to murder everybody in the second episode, because it doesn't happen in this episode, because this episode cuts off at that moment, right? So that's kind of what's going on. You see, I don't have too much to say about the remakes of episodes. This is why I don't cover remakes of episodes too often on this stuff. You know, and I tend to usually kind of go alternative, but, you know, I think in this case it was fine to do. Alright, I've talked enough about this. Let's go to the next thing, which is, okay, let me try to actually figure that out. So, the next thing that I'm supposed to look at is 4.7. Okay, as a reminder for what happened in 4.5, we had the challenge be the Twinkle of Contagion, was it not? Yeah, I think it was the Twinkle of Contagion. Although I'm pretty sure it had a different name. Yeah, and then that stuff happened while, you know, like a lot of different tactics certainly got approached there. But yeah, alright, let's go to 4.7, which is entitled Pride. Alright, that is episode 7. Now, before I forget, I do need to point out one pretty important detail, is that, you know that, like, when you do recommended characters, you're supposed to credit the recommended characters. You're supposed to put the name, you had 2 chances. 2 chances to put the name of the recommended character. You put them in the credits, you put them in that one time when the pen was flying. Alright, you had 2 chances and you took 0. To 0 of them. I don't know about this. I don't know if I agree with some of this behavior. But then it's like, oh, but you see, the show's meant to be funny. Who cares? It's a recommended character. They still gotta be the name. Just because the show's a shitpost doesn't mean every part of it is a shitpost. Doesn't mean you don't gotta do the serious things. Come on now. What are we doing? Can't put the name on it. They all also submit it through Discord and put the name. Come on now. What are we doing, bro? What are we doing? But anyways, we have definitely a 4-point. We do, in fact, continue on our 4-point shenanigans, which is, of course, getting heavily distracted while proceeding in a challenge. At least this one did feel, but this one was a bit more challenge focused, I would say, than average, which I think is nice. Like, you know, they went to a very great lengths to get the cake, but overall they got a cake, right? There wasn't too much like dilly-dallying, right, which definitely was happening the last 2 episodes. I mean, like, you know, the last 4 episodes in a row, like 3 minutes of the screen time was taken up by the freaking nightmare from FNAF gag, Lampy P Lamperson or whatever it was called. Like, yeah, who comes back in this episode, by the way, from the lair? They seem to be stunned by whatever's happening, so they didn't end up actually talking in the episode, which, you know, fair enough. I guess it do be how it be. But yeah, we begin here with our Blue Gelatin Speaker Box, which ends up hosting the result. After 165 votes, the eliminated contestant ends up being our fella over here. Penny. Yes, Penny was your name. Gets eliminated, and everybody is sad. So, you know, rip. Then we end up going over, and we end up finding out that the Black Pen ended up being frozen, and they end up fetching the epic Ice Cube powers, right? Because remember, wasn't Ice Cube like the super powerful being? So was that a thing? That was a thing, right? Because Ice Cube was like this super powerful Omega being or something that everybody really liked and then died. But then basically they inherit their power and they become blue, because of course the gag is that, you know, the Black Pen is not just a regular pen, but it's also Omega powerful. And then we end up having the challenge. We spin a wheel to decide the challenge. Or at least Earth makes Knifey spin the wheel, because Knifey was sad or something because it was Primo. And we end up spinning a wheel, which, you know, is in theme. Hey, wheels, let's go. That's how we end up watching it. But yeah, the wheel has decided, not rigged at all, that the challenge is going to be a cake baking contest. So they proceed to do that after our intro, which we're still doing the Battle for Nothing intro, I guess, because the host, you know, died. So fair enough, I guess. Fair enough, you know. I guess until something happens, that'll be the same. We end up trying to plant. One team ends up trying to plant the cake. The 4 beginner ends up dying, which is unfortunate. Then it's so difficult, dude. You don't even understand how difficult it is to describe the events of a 4-point episode. Like, try to do it. No, like, really, at home, you know? Just like, you know this episode probably if you're looking at the session. Like, try to just describe it. Try to describe the happenings of this episode. It's so chaos. It's so difficult. These are some of the hardest ones for me to do, because there's not a lot of logic to, again, what happens, because, again, that's the sense of humor, and despite the fact that there's not that much logic to the way that things are happening, right, I kind of try to get the rundown, and the other stuff is like, dude, how do I explain this? It's like impossible to do, bro. It's like legit, like, maddening. Then it was funny ends up doing that. Now, for some reason, they make some, like, wait, what did they even do? Oh yeah, it's when you put his cake isn't even a cake. It's like a sculpture, right? And the sculpture definitely, you know, is looking pretty interesting. And they, Marshmallow and Delphi are debating whether or not that's okay. The Romans used to sculpt naked people. All right, bro, good logic. We're out here with the hitting clapping back with the Roman Empire. Yeah, that's, you know, Rome was built in one day, so I guess this is true. Then going over, we end up having the transition to the plug who goes over to fetch the supplies from Walmart, which is a place in Yo-Yo Land. I'm confused. Is Yo-Yo Land operational here or not? By the way, like, what do you mean there's just a Walmart in Yo-Yo Land? I guess Yo-Yo Land, somebody must be living in Yo-Yo Land, I guess, for the Walmart to be still functional. Or maybe it wasn't, because to be fair, we did go into the Walmart and then we crashed through the wall. So maybe there isn't security in the Walmart. Maybe it's like an abandoned Walmart. Right, I think that theory makes more sense. We're gonna say that it was an abandoned Walmart. Okay, we're gonna go with that. Okay, I think it being an abandoned Walmart makes sense. In this specific instance, so we go back and our fellas here have done trolling. I don't know what they're doing. Their eyes are like blue and white. So I'm gonna presume it's an Israel joke because we're doing those here. We did one at the beginning of the episode as well with the quote-unquote with the timzipooOSC meetup, which is like, all right, then look, again, we're gonna ignore the sense of humor, too much around here, right? Because I'm not the biggest approver of it, but like, look, if it's what the pop culture, then it's what the pop culture's, right? So we're gonna allow it, I guess. But Paul gets successfully rage baited by this and proceeds to dip off. Then for some reason, I don't even know what happens in this next scene. So Bubblegum proceeds to go in the back of the recovery center because that's a thing that we now know happens. And the fella in the back like dies or something, and then we end up having the glue baking powder thing or something, which end up just kind of all getting glued into because it's glue or something. I actually have no idea what happened in that scene, to be honest. But Bubblegum proceeds to take a break, right? They get Paul, be like, "You've done enough. The deed is done. All right then, cool. I don't, huh?" Again. There's so many gags that some are going to slip by, which is, unfortunate on my end. Then the Tangerine decides to make a tangerine cake. Traffic cone agrees to this, so they're going to use the Tangerine to make a tangerine cake. Yeah, fellas are marking squares to make their cake. The cupcake nerd ends up deciding, before Circuit needs to go do a haircut, but afterwards they end up deciding to go get a futuristic cake with a time machine. They end up not going to the future, but to the past. To the fast. Yeah, to the fast. Boom. That's a new Fast and Furious movie, that one. Fast and Furious 8 to the fast. Bam. Let's go. We end up going to the past because I'm pretty sure they end up going to Battle For Funny. Now, there's a relevant thing to actually point out about these teams you push is that they're directly connected to FourPoint in a way, because a lot of the characters from FourPoint are apparently from the different shows, right? So like they're involved around things like Battle For Funny. There was like a Will to Live show, I think. There was, I think, a TPOT about it, which is actually really interesting, the existence of a TPOT show, because of course the the object point timeline directly functions along the existence of that there's gonna be a TPOT. So I'm curious if that's how that connects to that. But we're gonna need to see it. It depends a little bit on how that show works. But yeah, we end up going back here for a little bit. I have not watched those any of those other series. I think they are one of the requests, by the way, on the. Of course, on the wheel. I think somebody did request at some point to watch Battle For Funny and some of the other timzipooOSC shows, which so that means that it is an option. It can happen, and maybe it will, but we'll need to see. But yeah, either way, we end up having the shenanigans happen and trying to fetch a cake. Don't mess with the timeline, they're just standing very still to do that. Then the pen comes in, tries to look cool. They don't end up looking very cool. The other fellas make a cake. The marshmallow fella ends up actually being very good at making a cake. The bomb tree is still unable to talk, right? But the earth isn't too bothered about that. Lamp comes back alongside everybody else. We fly up with the recommended characters, which for some reason don't get credited because I guess, sure. That we end up having ourselves going back into the lair with the Tangerine, where our reader fella comes back, and the traffic cone does successfully make the Tangerine cake as they wanted to do. Was it out of character? No, not really. They say they're out of character. I think they're overestimating the morality of their character. I'm not gonna lie, because no, that felt completely in character for me. I don't know. That felt totally normal. That felt totally normal. Traffic cone would do that. Traffic cone would do that. Anybody in the show would do that. There's no character in the show who would not do that. There is no I'm telling you, there is no character in this show who would not murder Tangerine. It doesn't exist. There is not a single one. Zero. Everybody would do it. Like, literally. It's mad. But either way, we proceeded to then have the judgings of the cake. So, the ratings end up being, relatively chaotically done. And of course they don't end up being very relevant. But, let's go team by team. So, the first cake ends up being accidentally popped out of existence there by the marshmallow one, the marshmallows cake, and they end up getting a 5 out of 10, even though he didn't get to eat them. He doesn't eat like any of them. The rest of the other cakes, if it's a theoretically edible cake, it gets a 6 out of 10. And the futuristic one, I think, gets a 7 out of 10. The weird sculpture thing made by our spoon fella ends up getting a 3 out of 10 because it's kind of weird, right? Which makes sense. I think a couple of them get 10s out of 10s, like I think the regular yo-yo cake and stuff. Ends up getting that much. The tangerine one, I think, gets a 10 out of 10, which is kind of funny. And then the last debate ends up being that the last team of hold on. No, God. You see, there's a remembering of the names that I'm bad at doing, because which one of the two is the spoon? Which one of the two spoons is a spoon? Because there's like the orange spoon and the other's regular spoon, right? But I don't remember which one's which, because again, there's been like 4 months since I've last looked at FourPoint. We'll call it the gray spoon and the softball. Okay, they didn't make a cake because they kind of just didn't do it. They just didn't get screen time. Okay, we didn't make it through. And they proceed to accuse heavily that the time travel team ended up stealing their cake. Right? And they're like, "What? We didn't do that." But in an epic act of sabotage, the iPad fella ends up actually agreeing, ends up being like, yeah, we did that. Now we know that this pad team, we know this iPad is, of course, I think in cahoots with someone else, and it's kind of evil, and it's kind of working against them. But it's interesting how they just decided to roll like that. They decided to straight up lose for their team, right? Which in a chase of independence, it's not exactly it's not the most logical avenue here for a fella to take here. I'm not sure if I necessarily agree too much, but this team goes up for elimination. This is a good idea. The FourPoint suffers quite a bit from screen time being heavily dependent on just kind of the idea that we have. Teams don't get even remotely near equal screen time, which but one thing that I always like to say is that in my eyes, you actually in larger casts, you always, in my opinion, should want one of the teams with the most screen time to be up for elimination. That way you showcase that way you basically showcase a team fully, and then you get to vote for one of them to be out, right? You don't want the team that does nothing to be up for elimination, because then there's no basis upon which you vote, right? So that's kind of what I think. But so this is a good team, because this is basically the team that does the most within the episode, right? So like having them actually be up for elimination is fair. I would probably eliminate the computer fella, because they kind of don't. They threw at the end of the day, right? They're the one who stopped the fighting and just said, oh yeah, we stole it, even though they literally didn't. And they seem to be wanting to protest, and they're kind of suspicious, right? Because they were working with that one fella the other time. So I think it might be, for the betterment of the other people in the Ultra Point Society, it might be time for them to go, but we'll need to see who ends up getting out. Yet again, recommended characters. Again, no idea who made any of them. I recognize Gom. Of course I recognize Gom. The Ultra Predictor. I remember. I'll always recognize you. But the other characters, I don't know who made them. But alrighties then. So I think that is what we can say about that episode. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it going on to the next episode, which is entitled Goated with the Sauce. Go. Alright, that is episode 8 of FourPoint. Now, okay, one thing that I always say, right, every time I always say, is that I will forever allow an object show to do a random musical number for no reason, because it's cool, right? Like, I always say that, okay? We might have found an exception. Nah, this is that was interesting. What I heard. You know, I'm kind of impressed in a weird way. I'm kind of impressed because that's like, if you actually think about it, yes, it's like kind of screechy in nature, but like that's kind of hard to sing like that. Like, try it. Okay, you know, I'm inviting you. You know, you listen to the video. Go sing. Like sing like for, it's not easy, you know, like like it doesn't work. Like, I can't do it, so like, why would I judge it, right? In a way, it's almost more technically impressive than the opposite, than if it was just well sung, right? So that's relatively nice. But no, yeah, I always think that around a musical number, it's like, why not? Come on. So yeah, I always will be an approver of those, but yeah, anyways, we have ourselves here the episode. So, we end up having a clearer episode, I would say, than also some of the other ones. It's shorter. It's got you know, less total, like, it's got less deviations, right? In general, everybody roughly remains aligned to the same location, which is one of the big positive things to do, right? Because like, it's the easiest way to keep everything logical is to keep everything in the same location, right? If everybody's in the same location, you have less things to keep track of, right? Because sometimes what happens in some of the earlier FourPoint episodes is that, again, you have to remember, things that happen in FourPoint episodes don't really make sense. So like, when the things that happen in FourPoint episodes involve the characters, one of them goes to the hospital, one of them goes within Nito, one of them goes like wherever the hell, to Yo-Yo Land, the other one goes to a secret underground laboratory, right? Like, all these things at the same time. One of them goes to the past, right? Like, it starts to get a little bit confused. But in this challenge, everybody's relatively grand to locations. I don't know if it's a relatively logical episode, or I'm getting brain rotted enough where I just understand it by now. You know, you know, maybe I've watched, you know, considering I watched this, and you know, not too long ago, I watched the Battle For Bluba, which is inherently within the same vibe, you know. Maybe this is just maybe I'm becoming one with it, you know. This is which is interesting, but yeah, we end up having the blood pen, by the way, successfully bring the palm tree back. I guess they got asked, which is interesting. We end up having the cake and steak, as hosted by our knifey fella. Yep, our screen ends up getting eliminated. Let's go. Got it correct. For some reason, Red Blocky ends up spawning in a kid somehow. I guess they were too worried. And but I do like the fact that this isn't a one-off gag. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a gag that survives into an episode. You know, that's always the debate. Is a gag going to survive into the next episode? But I like the fact that this kid does repeatedly show up, like, within the hands of, like, the latte, as, like, they're kind of taking care of them, which is kind of cute. I actually kind of like that. Like, that's cool. That's a cool way to, again, like, make a gag, but actually make it impact the show, which I actually kind of like. But yeah, our screen ends up getting eliminated with like 80 votes. It was not even close. So rip. When having the challenges, I am also a fan of the joke of the fact that they just can repeatedly be like, "Ooh, that just sucks. Don't do that," and then we just end up respinning the wheel, which you know, I thought we would have done that, but like, I thought we would have done that like off screen. I find it quite nice that we do it on screen. You know, like this type of, like, I like because like, I am not the biggest fan of the unhinged gags, but the average actual comedy, when it's not doing a gag that's just saying something that's just shock factor, I actually kind of like it. Like, the average joke, like, if you take away shock factor jokes, the average joke is honestly pretty high level in this show. I think it's rather nice. It's got like a solid grasp of timing. It's got like it's got a solid grasp of, you know, not keeping things for too long or too short, other than, you know, the times the gag that's specifically about the screen pause and the guy coming in, Lampy, P. Lampers, right? Like that, because the point of that gag is that it drags on for way too long, right? But like, other than that, things are going pretty solidly. But anyways, by the way, I'm talking way too much. Then they do a long jump. Okay. I don't think there's much to talk about this. The intro, by the way, ends up having the lyrics back, even though the intro's still in the 4-0 variant, which is interesting. But yeah, after Knifey ends up kind of dying after our fella. After a Black Pen fella ends up just jumping too strongly, so they end up splattering everywhere, and we end up replacing the line with acid, and then dropping into acid ends up being, relatively complicated. As I said, we end up having our epic Michael Jasser. Wait, what? Well, they said she had no man. This is so true, bars. Yeah, we ended up doing that. We ended up finding Knifey over in some basement thing, which Earth and Tenball end up dropping down to them, and they get caught. I don't know what happens there, but yeah, we end up having, again, solid gags, like the gag of like you see, this gag is great example. This one, yes. This example, like the gag of the friend of the Nui power, and then the strawberries ends up spending like 20 seconds sliding in, and then Vortex does it just going in a straight line, and the same thing shows up, right, being like the success thing. But that's what I mean. That's a fun gag. It understands timing, understands things, right? There is good humor here, So I think that's why, I overall, I give the benefit of the doubt with the crazier jokes, because even though they're not for me, I understand that they can be funny, because I understand that the jokes that are more my style, I do actually find funny. I do actually find good, right? There's little nuggets of gold in there, which I think is relatively enjoyable. But yeah. Anyways, we end up having to eliminate contests. The team up for elimination being the Ions, because basically 10 ball just pushed our orange spoon straight into the acid, so they basically didn't jump, and they're the only character to have not even really tried. Right? Again, surprisingly enough, majority of the characters are actually quite good at the long jump. So yeah, this team's up for elimination. I don't know. This team didn't get a lot of screen time in this episode or in the last one, to be honest. So I don't know. Let's say that the spoon gets out before having flopped the challenge, and also just being generally kind of weird. So we're gonna do that, but maybe not. And at the end of the day, Taponcha ends up getting the information that apparently Globy does not like them. So, alright. Well, I need to see how it goes on with that. But, yeah, and in fact, we are going to see what's going on with that with the latest episode of FourPoint, which is entitled none other than Diabolical. Go. Alright, that is 4.9, which I watched a little while ago, and crazy fight scene, no? I mean, again, with a lot of things in 4-point, whenever there's an actual high quality thing that happens, I immediately am just like, hold on, is this a shitpost? Is this from something? Right? Because it's not, this show, it's not shied away from just doing a thing that another show does, because that's a reference and it's funny, right? But as far as I'm aware, this fight scene is not actually this one at the end. I don't think it's from something. I think, and it seems at least I don't recognize it, which makes it overall look pretty alright. I mean, look, if it is from something, then I let's say I called it, but at the same time, if it's not for something, then very impressive. Nice angles, great usage of the sky moving in the background, right? The background is the thing that does that's done very well in this scene, right? So if the background, if the scene is fully original, then fair enough, good job. I give you the props. If you didn't, then I got baited, all right? So I thought, part of me is wondering if the TPOT had it, but no, I don't think it's from anything really. So yeah, it's good stuff there with that fight. But let's start at the beginning, all right? So Nathaniel, which is the new president apparently, is calling the place Nathaniel, and then proceeds to get fucking yeeted by Black Pen, who decides to become the president, or at least murder the previous president. And in the meantime, the other fellas who are, studying at the CIA, are going to trying to stop him, and our red ball fella will try to be the one to stop him. He's got a crowbar, a dream, and he's gonna do it. All right. So we'll see that later. Now we're gonna go over to the elimination ceremony. Of course, which is being hosted by a new speaker box, newly found speaker box there for Dime, who ends up eliminating none other than our Spoon, the fellow Orange Spoon, yes, who ends up getting eliminated with 52 votes. So far, I think today I ended up predicting every single elimination correct, which is interesting. Like, there's a degree of predictability to these eliminations that's actually higher than you would usually think. It's kind of interesting. Not 100% sure why, but something about the way that the show ends up being written really does make for some clear-cut elimination fodder, which, I guess is unfortunate, but it do be that way. But yeah, in the meantime, we end up having the secret people. Okay, so I don't know who these fellas are from. All right, but basically, I think they're from another show. All right, because Earth was in that show. All right, and since Earth was in this show, they are Cause is this Battle for Funny? I wonder if this is Battle for Funny, cause this is a cast, there's a like a bow tie candy thing. There's a tree. There's a trash can. These are definitely from something. All right. But they're basically trying to find out the power and everything, right? And as you can see, they're trying to do something with this thing in the back. Hold on. What does this whiteboard even say? Source of power. No brain. Starry's got no brain. Other power. Yep, that's the other thing. Starry's technically our mother. Okay. Recovery center made by Ice Cube. How'd I get magic? Starry evil. Alright. Misunderstood. Not misunderstood and not broken, but evil. Alright, got it. Yeah, then we do the 4-gag. We do the 4-gag a lot. we do the 4-gag being mean to us at the Copy Pasta quite a bit, the BFB 30 in this episode, which, it has been a couple of episodes since we've done that one. I do think we have done it in one of the previous episodes of 4-Point, at least I remember it, but I don't know, it's a pretty common shitpost, so I've actually heard it in quite a lot of shitpost shows, so again, they blend together in my mind, because as time is passing, and my catch-up, the shows are getting more and more blended into my mind, and it sucks. It do be the way that it be. We're never doing, if there's one thing I can assure you that I'm never doing, I'm never doing object re-catch-up. I am not a rewatch, I already got new stuff to watch, it's never going to end the new stuff to watch. I can't spend time rewatching, it's not, I'm sorry, bro, it's over for me. But yeah, we end up doing the wheel spin again, which, by the way, I find it really funny how the BFB equivalent does wheel spin challenges, but the BFDIA equivalent for Other Point doesn't do the challenges. Okay, cool, I guess. I don't know, it's kind of random. And they end up landing on the bubble blowing challenge, which I find also funny because, of course, the bubble blowing challenge is, been scrapped last time. But this time it's totally fine, which is interesting. I guess it's just a metric of the fact that a different person is looking at it now, right? Because the speaker boss is spinning it instead of the knife. Our intro is officially no longer in the Battle for Nothing intro. We're back to the regular 4-Point intro. Although I think the song itself is like some Ohio cover. I don't know how to... I don't know, bro. Yeah, the challenge is to blow a bubble. The smallest bubble loses. Now the contestants proceed to do the challenge to various degrees of success. The Dorito manages to do it immediately. However, Team Gay is distracted, heavily distracted, because they want to go recover Globy, because Globy is dead or something, which... now that I think about it, does this entire plot line make sense? Because they spend the entire time being like, I'm going to go we have to go recover Globy. Okay? And it's like, alright, cool. So they go do that. They fail to do that, though, because they get distracted. But, they go to do that, they don't do that, and the recovery center is gone. Okay? Cool. right? But then they go back, and for some reason, Palm Tree is extremely shook about the fact that Globy is there dead, laying down on the floor with the gun. It's like, oh, well, like, if Globy was dead and you were trying to recover Globy, you already knew this detail, so you shouldn't be theoretically extremely Omega surprised to see that Globy is dead, no? Like, I don't know if this necessarily is making the most logical amount of sense. Because like, I don't know. I might be missing a detail, and considering it's this show, I'm probably missing a detail. But I'm either considering this show, I'm either missing a detail or there doesn't exist a detail in the first place. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, we end up reviving Bottle, which might be relevant. But as we do that, some fellas go over to fetch, I think, a bubble from a different landscape. We end up having some bodyguards, which are of dubious quality, and they end up just kind of shooting themselves. Again, characters and shooting themselves in the show, they go pretty hand in hand. But yeah, Plug gets locked down by the rest of their team. They try to be swag and they end up failing. And then yet again, Earth and Tenball are finding out the lore. So iPad, who I don't honestly completely forgot their name, if their name was iPad or like Tablet or something. It's an iPad. I remember correctly the first time. Is that they are, in fact, apparently have possibly the capability of erasing anybody that iPhone has made, which of course includes the. Which includes Milkshake, which is apparently the favorite person of Earth. So it's apparently been deleted. Knife doesn't get deleted, though, because they get hell shot by Knife, who is on steroids, I guess. And by being on steroids, they end up super buffing their powers, and they end up going absolutely crazy. So they decide, I have to go get the black pen or something. I have to go defeat them. You know, it has been done. Was Milkshake actually removed? I did not pay attention to check if Milkshake reappeared in any future moment of the episode. I don't think they did, but maybe, I don't know. Yeah, Bottle, for some reason, by the way, possesses now the Starry Body. The Starry Body is just within Bottle, which is kind of interesting. This, again, might be relevant at future times. But the other fellas keep running. We have more recommended characters, which yet again go completely uncredited. I'm sorry, dude, but, like, not that hard. I know, I'm not going to let you go on this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. It's not that hard. Put the name of who made the fucking thing. Come on now. It's incompetent. You take recommended character. You draw the recommended character. You don't say who made the recommended character. What's the point of the recommended character? Come on. At least I'll give the credit of a person now. You get the credit of a voice actor at the end, right? And so you do that. So you do get credit to people, but you don't get credit to the recommended characters who made the character design. It's claimed the only reason we know this is a recommended character sequence is because we know what recommended character sequences are supposed to look like, right? But like, oh, I know, like this is not fair. It's not fair. You gotta include the name of who made it. Like, you gotta include it. Like, and even then, it's also just for the sake of the name of the character, no? Because a lot of these designs are kind of weird. Right, and it's not necessarily for it, but it's like there's like a freaking Pop-Tart in a box, you know, like what is the name of that character? I need to know this. There's like a Y algebraian who's also like a paintbrush with like what would that be called? What is your name? I need to know. You know, and then I know that something like, oh, but that's usually nobody looks at the recommended character. I look at the recommended characters. I do that. I like looking at the recommended characters. Come on. What are we doing out here? Like, what? But, anyways, the black pen gets absolutely eaten. We end up using the same frame of, of the same, animation of being in your own head, quite a bit now. Our steroided Knife proceeds to go down there and to the White House and do an attack. The challenge ends up speedrunning a finish, but again, at the end of the day, the challenge doesn't really matter that much because Team Engage kind of flops it after Kara and Palm Tree just end up kind of beefing it out to getting mega distracted, so they end up being the ones up for elimination. Today's episode then ends after the Omega fight scene that ends up taking place. Again, not sure if it's got any source, but if it's not got any source, then fair enough. And fair enough, good job. I don't recognize it, but it's a degree of quality that's a bit too high. Degree of quality is a bit too high for me to trust, you know. Yeah, either way, it's a good fight scene, and theoretically, Blackpen probably loses this fight. I don't know. The Earth kind of explodes, so that might be a problem for future scenarios. Either way, we have our fellas here. We're out for elimination. So, I mean, you can argue Palm Tree or Carrot are at fault for any of this, but I don't think they're going to get eliminated because they're too relevant, right? Like, at the end, like, I think this is like, the way that votes end up playing in this show, I would say are relatively relevancy-based, right? So, I think that one of Marshmallow or the Watermelon are going to go. Now, which one? I would vote the Watermelon. I vote the Watermelon. Watermelon has had gags, like, in the past, right? Like in the past, the Watermelon has had gags. Like, in Watermelon, like, have get pregnant or something. So something happened, right? Well, at least one of the characters on that team. Well, like, that was the thing, but like, ever since, that's kind of been sidelined. And the Marshmallow, for as much as the Marshmallow didn't do anything in the last 2 episodes, was pretty relevant in that episode in that episode 7, if I remember correctly, right? Being kind of the one who made the cake. Yes, exactly. Being the cake creator and everything, right? So like they have been relevant early, like late. More recently, yeah, they've been relevant more recently than Watermelon. So I'd personally vote against Watermelon in this case, but maybe Marshmallow could get out. I don't know. But yeah, that's the current state of FourPoint. I mean, oh yeah. By the way, there's the post-credit scene where Penny ends up dropping by to this I guess like Blue Land, where they end up hopping over to where there's Chicken Wing, and there's also Globy there, which is relatively interesting. Now, not 100% sure where this is supposed to be. Because of course we don't actually recognize this place. Now, I mean, my initial instinct is to very much so think this through, kind of like II, right? Because if it's a very blue landscape, right? It's a very phone landscape, right? Like, it looks like iPhone. And of course, if there's anything that these characters share, that they're not alive, right? Because Globy's currently not alive. This chicken will presumably never got recovered, and Penny's just been eliminated and therefore dead, right? Because an eliminated contestant tends to die. They can be recovered, but their punishment is basically they're dead for the time being, right? And for now, we don't recover them, right? Which is kind of the interesting scenario. Now, is this good? Now, is this interesting? Maybe. Like, maybe I'm not thinking it enough, but, like, if Globy gets revived to just spawn out, possibly, that would make sense. And, again, it gives the deader contestants, I guess, somewhere to be, like afterlife-ian location, and also, again, being within a phone would make sense, because of, again, that logic that is also being showcased, right, that we have all of iPhone 7's files, right, with the iPad having the files, so they are files, and therefore the files gotta be stored somewhere, right, so maybe this is the storage, and then they get sent to the world, you know, like something along those lines, you know, I think it will make sense, but I don't know. Anyways, that's the state of FourPoint. It's FourPointing. It's FourPointing. I think FourPoint episodes have gone better, to be honest. I think they have gone better. I've been a little bit happier with the writing in them. I think that the jokes that, I mean, like, there are a bunch of jokes that of course rely on the show value, but like, I feel like that has kind of reduced. Like, it's slowly, I would say, getting more towards my humor. But they're rather in the first few episodes, which are like entirely just same old thing, boom, you know, well, not boom, like we don't literally do a Vine sound effect, but like you do a Vine sound effect in your head. Alright, which is better, because I remember like saying this along the lines of like certain, like, I don't remember what FourPoint episode it was, but like that there arrived, of course, that like there's a certain degree of joke that I think starts to be like, I don't know. You know, and I think, and you know, it's part of the conversation that you're always gonna have when you're a risque type of personality, right? Where like the things that you say are directly risky. Like some jokes are directly riskier, and you have more fear of being considered like bad because, oh, you're making a joke about this, or you're making a joke about that, or you're making a joke about Israel, or whatever, right? Like certain things that end up being marked as kind of like what is a good degree of joke, like what is what type of joke is entirely unreasonable to do, right? And what types of things are unreasonable to say, right? In the same way that I got like oh, I remember what it was now. Yeah, I remember finding like that scene in one of the episodes where, yeah, they're like super somberly talking about like wanting to die or whatever, right? Like I remember that scene. I still remember that one, actually. That's just popped back in my head like crazy. Yeah, like that scene, right? And I remember finding that kind of weird because it's like, well, this show's talking about this. However, everything that they show us is ironic, so this scene is debatably has to be ironic, but that isn't weird. Like, it felt like in bad taste, considering, you know, the fact that how, again, even in this episode, everything that these characters know how to do is shoot themselves. Like, it doesn't like it felt pretty out of taste, and it can start to feel like that, you know. Like timzipooOSC definitely treads the line sometimes between acceptability. I know that timzipooOSC got called out relatively recently for I think like posting something saying, oh, BFDI crew member is like weird, when like there was at least no known basis for it, which is like kind of which is also, you know, like it's this type of thing where it's like, okay, some of this stuff, like when you have this type of personality, you can't exaggerate, right? And I feel like sometimes we are exaggerating a little bit. I think that there needs to be definitely that there needs to be that kind of point for sure, because like people definitely enjoy it, people definitely enjoy the humor, but there has to be like definitely that degree where there has to be a clear distinction maybe between like the satire and the non-satire, right? Because like I feel like there's one or two moments but within the show and also between the general like personality that were like you gotta kind of the distinction maybe isn't make enough, and if the distinction between satire and non-satire doesn't get made enough, then it becomes dangerous anytime that gets confused, because that can that can harpen badly on reputation, you know. So I think that it's absolutely an important thing to look out for, to like have a more basically be robust, all right? be robust, be firm. Now, like when you're being serious, make sure you're being serious properly, and when you're being satire, make sure to clarify that, at least in spaces where you are also being serious, right? So that's kind of what I think. If you're being mostly satire in a place and you're being serious, you have to clarify that. And if you're being mostly serious in a place and you're doing satire, you have to clarify that, right? Otherwise, you're risking canceling yourself. You know, you're risking finishing like that one Untitled Insanity episode. All right. So that's all I have to say. Next thing. Well, as the third wheel spin upon us, I think it's reasonable to do, because we spin the wheel twice. The things have been longer this time around, and again, they could be so much longer than this. So, I'm worried, but let's go do a wheel spin. Well, 165 things are on this wheel now, because we've removed the timzipooOSC keepup. It's time to spin. I must admit, I'm afraid of this one because, you know, I don't want something too long. It's already like 2 hours in this video. But let's go. What's it gonna be? What am I going to be watching next? There's always that pressure. It is gonna be TRIS by Erenden. Did this have more than one episode? I think it did, maybe? Oh, I don't know anything about this, I'm gonna be honest, but it's another new series in the bag. So let's go take a gander at what it is. I'll give you some more info. Alright, well, TRIS is actually only a one episode series released 3 months ago. I believe it stands for The Rule is Simple. It has so far only had this one episode, as well as a 20-second short, which we will not be watching. It is not a numbered episode, but we're going to be watching episode 1. Episode 1 is entitled What's Cooking? To be specific, it released on March 22nd. I have not a lot of knowledge about this. Yet again, we're going in kind of blind, but I always think that that's one of the best ways to go about looking at something completely blind and then letting yourself get surprised by its expectations as a first-time viewers. I believe this is a show produced, at least here and then, I think it's from Turkey, which is kind of interesting. So, interesting country as well. Shout out Europe or Asia, depending on who you ask. Eurasia? I don't know. Whatever. We're getting distracted. Let's go to episode 1. What's cooking? Here we go. Alright, I have just watched a little while ago TRIS 1, or The Rule is Simple 1, What's Cooking? An interesting show. I feel like there's a lot of things to talk about here, but it all stems from the one question, right? Is that in modern OSC, right, one of the things that I think ends up being kind of asked of a show when it starts is why, well, like, what do you bring to the table, right? Like, what is a show gonna bring to the table that makes it worth a watch? Because at the end of the day, object shows are a pretty oversaturated market, right? I mean, we're 15 years from the existence, and every object show ever is something that somebody can watch nowadays, right? Which means that when a new show's coming in, it kind of ends up, like what is it trying to settle in, right? Now, for as much as there are a bajillion shows in history, it's actually, I would say, not that hard to make a new vibe here. But this show, I'm kind of struggling because I actually cannot find really the answer to that question for this show, which is kind of weird, because like you can, for example, innovate by functioning within a different format, right? Structuring things differently, or having it be in a unique setting, or having it be in a in a different style, or it's non-competition, competition, right? Like some of them do more reality show-esque voting, right? Like certain things to sort of bring the show like this. But this show, no, that doesn't do that. This show is set in a grass field. It's large cast, kind of. It's about at the border between large cast and regularly sized cast, like 28. It's mildly leading towards the larger cast. It's got a basic format of 4 teams of 7. They participate and yeah, they participate in challenges, and the team that loses is up for elimination. Okay, so format speaking, it's not set in a different locale than usual. It's not set in a different in a different thing than usual. All right, sure. Then the second thing is uniqueness in vibe. Right, like uniqueness in vibe, right? Because a show can have a same format but still feel very different depending on how the vibe is right out. This is mainly how it's written, right? Like how the show's written itself, and the sort of the dynamics that naturally spring around the characters, right? And now this is definitely mildly different. You can tell, because what ends up happening with this cast is that there's a lot of negative energy being radiated from this cast. Like, the amount of characters that are negative in nature is a lot of them. Like, Yoga Ball, is negative in nature. The lamp is negative in nature. The sword is negative in nature. The Game Boy is negative in nature. The Band-Aid is negative in nature. The beryllium, or whatever it's called, the blueberry fella, is negative in nature. The silver metal is negative in nature. And I mean negative as in, like, they think negatively. They'll generally be, like, you know, they'll be mad or be sad, right? And there's even, you know, arguments to be made that other characters, like Meteor, like Blueberry, like the Unlucky Block, right? Like, all these characters are, you know, sort of thinking in like they bring negative energy, you know? They're either sad or or they want to do bad things, or like they're directly angry at people, right? And confrontational, and they don't act very helpfully, right? And you can tell because what ends up happening is that when there is so much sort of radiating negative energy around the teams here, what is occurring on the writing of this, and I'm not sure if this is intentional or is accidental, right? But I'm not sure if it's intentional or if it's accidental. But what's ending up happening is that these four teams, right, they're just sort of slowly conforming to the same exact ideology. Because if you actually look at how, well, first of all, if you look at the pre-host show up, right, like before the host shows up, right, like, how do 70% of these interactions go? 70% of interactions go, somebody is trying to do a thing, whether it's initiate a conversation, do anything they want, and then the other person, you know, usually one of the characters in the negative mindset, proceeds to go, no. And then just shuts down any attempt at communication at all. This happens an unbelievable, like, 5 times. Yes, okay, it's the gag with pointer that everybody rejects pointer, but it's not even just the pointer. It happens to like joystick. It happens to battery who gets told no, right? It happens to the like I think it happens to silver as well. It happens to beryllium, of course, who shuts down Unlucky Block. It happens to Unlucky Block again with sword, right? As they just immediately, like, as soon as the character tries to do anything, says no. Right, and then it's like, okay, that's interesting. So you can see that a lot of the characters have this same kind of close-on mentality, and sort of more evilly mentality. But then that ends up also happening heading into the writing of the challenge itself. Because, I mean, out of 4 teams, okay, you're telling me that literally, like, hold on, wait, am I forgetting a team? Wait, because what I was about to say was, like, every team's plan just ends up boiling down to let's murder our food guy. Right? There's only one team, well, there's only one team that doesn't do that. Okay, no, yeah, one team doesn't do that. They make a sandwich. That's true. They're like off screen for majority of the episode. Like, they fetch the ingredients off screen. So I guess it didn't look. But, like, yeah, they ended up doing that. And, okay, yeah, because, like, how do teams end up conforming to that? They're not conforming to that idea, right? And then they all end up just kind of doing the same debate, right? They end up doing the same debate of like we have, like, you understand, 3 times in the same episode, we need to deal with a team who does the moral dilemma of, yo, we want to win the challenge, so you have to get eaten. And the character goes like, yeah, but I would not like to get eaten. And the team goes like, lol, don't care plus ratio, and then just proceeds to feed them anyways. Except for the one time that Foul Forward came in with some random ass K batter that they made, but got kicked off from the other team because, again, shutting down of any ideas from the Game Boy fella, right? Because they have to do the thing their way, is like, it's hitting it, and it's and you get to eat the food, right? Which is I would say, like, it's not do I call that bad, like, not very good writing to do that? I feel like there's an audience for it. There's an audience for it. I wouldn't call it bad. It's different. It's not something I would personally recommend because it starts to feel kind of samey, right? Like, if we're at the beginning of the challenge and we're doing the debate about whether we should eat the pizza, and then it's been 10 minutes into the episode and we're still debating about whether we eat a guy, but it's just the cheesy puff this time. You understand? It starts to feel like, oh my god, like at least on my end, I think that all right, I don't know if this is great. I would try to variate a bit of what the team strategy are, right? Because like, that's the magic of teams. That's the magic of the early BFB, right? Because the magic of the early BFB is that it's punchy, but it's punchy quick solutions, right? It's punchy quick solutions. Each team ends up coming up with its own wacky solution to the problem. Then one of them is not going to work, but majority of them are, right? So they end up coming in with some wacky ideas, each team on how to solve the challenge, and it ends up being nice. However, if everybody on this show is just conforming to the same fucking idea every time, it ends up being a little bit of a problem, right? Again, it could just be a metric of the challenge, but like, I don't know, because writing in this show definitely I would say was a little dubious, because it's lacking it's because like, other than the concept, I feel like the details within are also lacking a little bit in terms of like originality. Because like, the best example that I can give, right, is that like, for example, there's this like, the way that our hosts spawn in is we just end up having silver medal being like, the past few days have been so boring, same people, same conversation, same events, I wish that around here just changed. All right, which is interesting, because all I'm saying is that our toy boat in Woes 1, Wish on a Star, proceeds, you know what they say? They say, same people, same conversations, same fights, I just wish for something to change around here. Alright? And then a gigantic little thing comes in, and then the host pops up from the sky. Which is suspiciously similar to what has happened here. I don't know. I don't know about you, but these look like two awfully suspiciously similar events. And like, it's again, it's not necessarily bad, but like, there's a degree where like, after a certain point, you know, like, I get like, it's not trying to innovate in any aspect. So when it does something like that, where it's so similar to something popular that already exists, it's like, dude, it doesn't feel like it's trying too much, because like, it's like I don't want to be mean. I really don't want to be mean, but like, it doesn't give that much, like it doesn't feel like, it just doesn't feel that original, because like, even the challenge, it's a cooking challenge. every show's done a cooking challenge. Like, it's one of the most basic challenges to call. Every show can get to do a cooking challenge, but again, it's episode 1. Like, it's episode 1, you know, like, it's not showing me anything new. And it's like, you know, like, it's like, dude, you totally could. You totally could. And again, for some people, and even for me, I'm one of those people, it's like, it's totally fine. You know? It's totally fine. Like, because I, like, let me explain to you. Alright, right, my thought process here. Okay. Is that, like, I, as a viewer of things, okay, I'm actually extremely open-ended. It's one of the reasons why I do Catchup. I enjoy watching pretty much anything, right? But if I'm putting, and like, I found this was an enjoyable watch, right? It was an enjoyable watch, and the individual lines of dialogue were, I did find a lot of them quite funny. You know, I did find a lot of them quite funny. Even though, like, the broad strokes were overall getting samey from team to team, the individual lines of the characters are pretty good, right? And I like certain ones quite a bit. File Forward is really interesting. I find the character quite cool. We won't have really time to get into it, but, like, it's an interesting character. So I call it these things. But, like, you know, if I'm putting my analyst cap on and I'm looking at it from, like, okay, well, let's do, like, a review-y thing. Even though, again, I don't like to call these reviews. I don't like to call the Catchup stuff reviews. I like to call them, like, general discussion about how we're feeling about a show. And I feel like how I'm feeling about the show is that it's, like, it's a nice watch but, like, it's kind of, like, it's a nice watch to turn brain off, you know? Like, if you turn brain off and you just go, alright, we're watching an object show that is an object show, then like yeah, this is perfectly good. But like I feel like if I'm actually thinking about it and I'm like going like, okay, what is this like what is special about this object show? I'm looking at it and it's like it's not defined anything. It's not defined anything that made it so special, which is unfortunate. Because like it totally could, you know? Like have a different challenge, have it like change something in the formula, you know? Like because like it keeps everything the same. But like at the same time, it kind of like maybe I'm misunderstanding because like maybe it wants to be right, like maybe it just wants to be like Omega early BFB, and it could be Omega early BFB, but it's not. But like Omega early BFB kind of isn't like this. It has the element. It's very woes. Like in the way that I said that sentence, like earlier, like I did the comparison. It's a very woes show, but like woes is early BFB, but like kind of different. Like this is also kind of woes style. It's the most like similar comparison that I can give it, to be honest. And maybe that's just what it's trying to be. It's trying to be like another woes, right? But like again, I don't know. I feel like it can innovate in the details. It can innovate in the details, and I feel like it's not doing that enough, right? Like yeah, I don't know if I'm necessarily too convinced in a quite a bit of the writing, you know. Like by the way, like now that I think about it, hold on a second, and it's just a recolored BFB background. No, hold on. Is this now that I think about it, is this background original? Is that, hold on, what is this background? This looks like a BFB background. Is it not a BFB background? Hold on a minute. I feel like it kind of looks like a BFB background. No, I think it's different. Is it? I think it's very inspired. At least the trees. It's very inspired of a BFB. He's kind of trying to be. No, I think it is original. But like it's very very inspired, right? But yeah, I feel like this show really does, really should try to set itself in it. And here's another thing. Here's another detail. Because remember, we were going through the checklist a little while ago, right? About like what does the show have to say for itself, right? So it can be. So you can make a mission statement based on VI, you can make it based on format, or you can make it based on style, right? It's very important to have a show that like there is absolutely a category of show that it's doing interesting things, but like it's where like writing wise is doing basic things, right? But it's considered interesting because of style, right? A show that looks different, that looks interesting. Does this show do that? Huh. So one of the details that becomes pretty immediately apparent in the show is that it pretty much entirely refuses to have a style guide. Like it doesn't have a style, like it really doesn't, because like you can really see from animator to animator that like each animator is doing a pretty alright job. Right, but again, connecting the dots is doing it, and again, like you can tell from just mouths, you know, like you're seeing the episode right now, like scrolling, you know, in silent, right, as on the screen right now, right, like if you just like pay attention for like a minute at the mouths, you'll notice that they're just gonna kind of change, right, because it depends on the animator's styling, and you know, some of them are gonna have some of them have the less round, like one of them has the style without the rounded edges, like without like the anti-aliasing thing on the brush stroke, right? So it makes the eyes especially a little bit more liney. Okay, one of them has the mouse with the teeth heavily apparent. One of them has them where it's a loop, right, where it's opens, closes, opens, closes, opens, closes. One of them has the mouth significantly smaller, but when they open, it stays open for the entire length of the talk, right? Like it does all of these things, and there's even a couple of different ones, like I think like, you know, different ones where that show the tongues and stuff, right, and everything, and like these details, they're all kind of they all kind of combine, and they combine to create a show that doesn't have too much of a styling to it, which is again kind of making me struggle to really picture like a box to put the show in, because I feel like it's struck like in all three of the main categories that I'm like, let's give this show an identity. I feel like it's kind of not really managed any of the three. which is weird because like I feel like it's a very interesting position to be in, right? Because in terms of style, it's not nailed in a style, right? Like it's kind of one of the things where it's like the best way for me to kind of try to explain this is that if you close your eyes, right, and you try to picture a show, you're gonna roughly picture what it looks like, right? It has a different baseline style, right? But I feel like if you try to close your eyes and you picture this show, I mean, you're gonna probably picture something, right? But like, it's gonna be a little bit more fuzzy because you're gonna picture how one of the scenes looked, right? Like, like if I close my eye right now, what am I picturing? Yeah, I think I'm picturing the scene. I'm probably picturing the scene at the start, right? Yeah, which is the more open mouths with the teeth all around them, right? And they're kind of like monotooth style, right? As the foul forward is chasing, right? Like you see, like I'm getting this kind of idea from it, but it's fuzzier because it's not because like that's not a thing. It doesn't look like that all the time, right? And so that means that the style is kind of missing, right? And like I feel like for this type of show, the style can be very important, actually, for this type of show, because like again, it settles in your look in a kind of oversaturated situation, right? Because it's like because like how do I explain it? Like look at Woes, for example. Yeah, I know Woes is like bigger show or whatever, right? But like you can go check the Woes style guide right now. You can go shop on his channel. You'll see it. There's the Woes style guide right there. It's really big. It's really big. Like the Woes, for example, sticking to its style is really, really important, right? It's one of the details about it. It has to look consistent to not distract viewers, right? And in this case, I think that it does kind of struggle a little bit to do that, to be honest. Which is again unfortunate because like it totally can. Is the kind of thing, right? I think the reason why I'm finding it unfortunate is that it totally can, like all these things it can do them, because like I know these animators in a way, like I've seen a lot of their work before. Kuba absolutely capable of doing it. Puff is in the tournament, is in my tournament, right? Like I think Kawan also worked for like Battle for a Hot Dog. They're totally capable of fitting into specific styles, right? But they're just not being told to, so like they end up so they just end up with freestyling. Like it's just kind of like, it's not like I know I singled people out, but like I don't even mean it. Like I know the other animators, I'm sure you're great. I just don't personally recognize your names. But like it's just like it's totally capable of doing that. Same thing with the writing. It's totally capable of writing something to be a little bit different, something to be a little bit something to feel like a little bit. Some challenge idea that's a little bit different. Some like scenario that's a little bit different, right? But it just decides to write everything the same. It decides to write everything the same way, right? And it's like like it can, and it still can, absolutely. Like this isn't a permanent thing. Like I totally think that it's capable of like, and I would totally recommend it. Deviate with challenges, invent new challenge ideas. Invent a new challenge idea. Go to a different location or something. Like do something new. Like settle in, because I think like it's better to do that, it's better to do that because like while this episode has the attention because it's good enough, right? The quality on it is there, right? But I don't think that it's gonna be, unfortunately, a show like this is gonna stick too much, because like because like, if you keep doing like the more generic challenges, it's kind of gonna be okay. It's just a show. Right, and like I feel like it's gonna kind of do that, Maybe I'm being extreme, maybe I'm being negative. I don't know, but it's just what I'm feeling. It really is, and I say what I'm feeling, right? And what I'm feeling is that like it totally can, but it's not daring enough to it should try to differentiate it a little bit more, and not even format. It could be format, but just, like new challenge, new something, right? Because right now, like watching this, I don't know. It was a little bit like Let's talk about the episode. Let's talk about the episode. I know that was the longest conversation I think we might have ever had. To be honest, about like the technical aspect of a show. I kind of feel bad at the creators watching it. Hello, if the creators watching it, I'm sorry. Just in hindsight, like in a way, I kind of hope you're not watching it, because I feel like I worded some of that stuff kind of mean. Like, I'm sorry, I don't like I mean it in the best way possible. Okay, I enjoyed it. Look, I'll give it a like. Okay, I'll like the video. Okay, I promise. All right. But yeah, we begin here with the file folder, who's chasing the folders. Then we end up having our big tower guy. By the way, the big tower guy is a cool character design. The characters themselves, by the way, in terms of like, again, personality types, they're a little bit, again, more on the negative side. But in terms of like the character like designs themselves, they're actually all right. I like I kind of like the detail of the meteor. In a way, although it does it does resemble the freaking popcorn thing from Was. The thing that popped the popcorn, I don't remember what it's called. But like the tower, for example, is a solid character. The mecha having healing is a solid character. Like there's a lot of characters that have certain gimmicks to them, and I kind of like that. I think it's relatively nice. But yeah, again, as the characters kind of move within their style, they end up doing their whole shebang. Yep, as I said, the scene where the hosts come in, then the host comes in. They are called, what are they called? They're called medium and mini. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure like what they're supposed. I'm not sure if those names are supposed to represent anything, because they're just kind of shapes. But yeah, they end up being algebrailians. In terms of algebrailianistic hosts, these are much more on the nicer side. They are they seem like the type of hosts that are very much so very very joyous. They're way more relaxed in the type of thing, which like maybe even more than Starry, because we're just doing the woes comparisons all day now. But like it's definitely. Yeah, it's definitely the kind of more joyous thing where they will be mad if they're prompted badly, right? Like if somebody reacts badly to them, or critiques them or anything. I feel like they'll be mean and they'll do like 4 things, but they're not just gonna do it automatically, right? Like they're not just gonna be like, today's challenge, I'm gonna murder you. Like they're not gonna do that. Well, algebraians are very known to do that, right? So like the fact that they're not gonna do that's relatively nice, right? But yeah, the prize ends up being to make a rule. They apparently make a rule that everybody must follow. It's pretty much you make a law, right? Now, I mean, I'm not sure what the laws of the universe already are. Like, can you just make a rule no murder? And then like was that not a rule before? Like, what's in the current rules? But yeah, I mean, in terms of like how it is as an idea for a prize, I mean, it's pretty solid. I mean, I don't remember something looking like that. I don't remember that concept of having like one rule that everybody must follow. Like it might have been a thing, but I don't currently remember it. Which makes it, it's relatively original. So we'll give it that. At least, and of course the show is named after its prize, which is relatively interesting. However, the prize being unique doesn't usually actually impact the situation too much, right? Like the average day-to-day running of a show doesn't really matter whether or not the prize is like super original or not, which is why I still think that majority of the writing is kind of not there. But even though the prize might be unique, the main thing that the prize decides is how much the contestants care. So the contestants in this show care a lot. All right, cool, right? It's which tends to align with the mega algebrainistic things. We're not having the intro, but by the way, it's a cool intro. This is a good intro. But like yet again, just to kind of make an example, this intro is low-key not in the style of any of the scenes. Let's just say, look, I don't know if any scene in the show looks like how the intro looks, to be honest. But which just pointed it out. Then we end up making the teams. Let's doing the teams. Hold on. It's a little bit confusing because one of the teams gets done like Omega early. With because I try to kind of find out what the team is. Hold on. We're team. What's the first team to name themselves, bro? Hold on. I'm trying to. Team right here. Yes, okay, you're the first team to get named. Yeah, so your team, this is the team that of course ends up losing. So this is Cheesy Puff, Sketchbook, Sword, File Folder, Potted Plant, Medkit and the game and the game fella. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the team that ends up kind of stealing people for personal advantage also ends up doing the negative of pretty much tearing away what was any type of previous connection. So there's basically no duos heading into it, which is because any like duos that could have been formed ended up just being immediately shattered, which ends up being a little bit of a problem. But yeah, we have two very, very loud people, which is the Sword and the Game Boy here, and they're kind of and they're definitely gonna decide things in the group because it's 2 against 1 mainly, right? Like the file folder is gonna protest against like morally dubious decision, but they're not gonna again they're outnumbered. They're outnumbered, and debatably they're out physicality because they have to kind of be wary with themselves because they have the files that they don't want to touch, right? So they can't like get too into the nitty-gritties of things, right? Which means that in general, Sword and the Game Boy are probably going to be capable of getting majority of things done, right? Like file folder again manages to stop, like you see, because like file folder manages to stop their plan, but doesn't manage to enact their own plan. Right, in reverse, right? Like they're not like they're not being capable of doing that because that's kind of how it goes, like either file folder and the other fellas are going to squabble until they both lose, or file folder is going to lose and at least the other fellas are going to have a chance by doing their evil plan, right? Because the other fellas are just kind of there. They're not loud enough to really make too much of an impact in here right now, right? Like I mean, I'm hoping that things can happen because Body Plan looks interesting. I like that type of character. I think Sketchbook also has some potential. Again, Medkit is a cool concept, but like they're cool characters, but they're not like gonna lead the team. Like they're like currently the results of the team are not gonna be decided on them at all. So we need to see if they're gonna have like the choosing power here. All right. What is the team? Let's see. What's the name? Okay, so here we have Team Tough. Okay, so Team Tough was comprised of not everybody's in the image, bro. It's really not everybody in the image. Why is not everybody in the team image? It was Band-Aid, the Yoga Ball, the mop, the joystick, and the pointer. But there's other people. No, I mean like I would know if I saw them, but like from memory, from memory that ends up being kind of. That'll be a kind of complicated thing to really notice. I think you had you had the unlucky block. I think the unlucky block. Did you have the unlucky block? What did you have? What did you have on this team? I'm sorry. I'm not very pro. Oh yeah, you had Blueberry. You had Blueberry and you had. Somebody. I'm sorry. I don't remember off the top of my head. You see, this is also something that you gotta understand is that that should be the perfect proof. All that I spent 20 minutes talking about earlier, right? About the technical aspect, the kind of ripping into it. Again, don't listen to me. I'm stupid. I'm like one of the dumbest people I know. Like, don't listen to me. Like I have an opinion. Like I wouldn't recommend listening to me too much, Like I have an opinion, but like I'm just kind of a regular guy watching it, Like at the end of the day, like the show, like what the show has 21,000 views and like how many likes? 1.2k likes, with the additional one by me, right? Like at the end of the day, like it's it's doing pretty good. So who am I to diss it, right? But yeah, then we have Team Vestaseg. Vestaseg. I don't know what any of that means. I'm gonna be honest. It's made by the other fella, which I'm not sure what they actually. Well, oh yeah, I know what they are. They're the Lost meme. Like that's what they are. But I don't know what your name is as a character. They got said one time, but it's so fast I didn't know. This is the team of the rejects, right? So it's the team of the atom fella that's called like beryllium, the lamp, the silver metal, the cherry blossom, and then also our fella over here, the mega tower. Right now, this team is theoretically in a very, very bad spot because they have a lot of people who are not bothered. The Atom is not going to do anything. I don't know if the Cherry Blossom is going to do too much, and I don't know if the tower obviously can't move, right? So the team's very bounded by that. So even though the team's very bounded by that, it definitely ends up but like the tower seems to have pretty solid ideas, and the Lample seems to help, and like our Lostfall is very energetic, so like there's still enough there, but it's like just about like it's just about there. Then we have Team Flow, which again, annoyingly, there's the casting. Like, come on, like this is just a personal pet peeve. When you're making like the team logo, can you have everybody in the team there? It just helps me, okay? Just helps me, okay? And yeah, like just so that you can snap the picture. You can snap the picture of the team logo and then the team, right? Like, can you have that? That'd be really nice. Okay, 20 by the anime, just do that, please. I beg. It even doesn't make sense. Just break the logic, okay? Break the fourth wall for 1 second. All right. But yeah, this is like battery. It's battery noodles. Gold medal. It's battery noodles, gold medal, the beanie, which I forgot that was a character. And also pizza and like the boulder. Yeah, this team doesn't do much because this team just kind of gets shit done pretty fast. They end up just being like, yo, do we get pizza? Do we eat pizza? Eat pizza's like, I don't want to get eaten, but everybody just votes for it. And they end up doing that. You see, because. And then we are having the challenge, which again is eating food. I like the thing of our host Medium here, just kind of like eating pretty much all of the food, and then Minnie doesn't get to eat any of it, even though Minnie's the one that was starving, and that's why we did the challenge. That's kind of funny. But yeah, because what happens with Team Flow is that Team Flow ends up managing to just get the pizza eaten because they're like, all right, yo, let's go do that. No, sorry, because the Team Flow is like, yeah. Let's go get pizza, and even though pizza doesn't want to, everybody else votes yes, so they just unanimously do it, right? A team right here struggles because they have like the clash between them of one wants to, one doesn't want to, so they end up again screwing themselves over. You can't have that kind of contrasting energy on the team; you're gonna lose. Team Veshasheg doesn't have any direct food on them, but but they steal the blueberry, so they manage to do that. They end up having to battle a lot. Like they're in terms of ideas, they're relatively combined. They're relatively aligned. They were doing a harder thing. And then of course for the final team, they didn't eat anybody. They just made a sandwich off screen and came back with the ingredients. I guess that does imply that there's a store somewhere in the universe. So that's relatively nice. But yeah, overall that they do that, and then that is the episode pretty much. After the ratings, Foul Folder gets a proper dissed by this. Foul Folder might get eliminated. So that's a great question. For as much this team had a lot of screen time, if there's one thing I want to say that's good about the writing is that I always like to say the team that's up for elimination should be one of the teams with the most screen time. This team was one of the teams with the most screen time and with the most dilemma and with proper character personalities, right? That's true, 100%. That's a good writing. That's good. Like that. I will absolutely say that was good. Yes, this is what we need. And it makes for a good thing for elimination, because you end up having kind of Foul Folder made the team lose, but is morally correct. The gamepad and the sword, they're both morally incorrect, but probably would have done pretty good in the challenge, right? And they can also be considered fun as well, while also being the mean character. They're both the fun character, but also the mean character, right? And everybody else was very quiet. They're quiet characters overall, so they can't get voted. You see, pretty much everybody is an option for voting. That's really nice. That's actually really good. Now that I think about it, I wasn't giving you enough props. I wasn't giving you enough props. I wasn't giving the show enough props. I don't know why I'm saying you. I just like internalized in my head that that one time I said the creator might be watching this. I don't know, just internalize it. No, they're not doing parasocial. But yeah, that's kind of So that's nice. I didn't give the show enough credit there. The way that it wrote the challenge for the elimination is very good, very very nice. I'm gonna say that Sword would get eliminated for being the mean one, but it's I don't know. It's just kind of the gut feeling here. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's just kind of the gut feeling. And then a couple other things. Fall Forward finds a coin at the end of the episode. We don't know if that's relevant, but considering it's shown in a post credit scene, it probably is. Maybe like a token, a win token, niceness token. I don't know, token for doing a good deed. That might be necessary considering like everybody in the show's evil. Having a token for doing a good deed might be low key a good idea. But yeah, there's I don't know, just a yellow token. And then yeah, there we go. That is the episode pretty much. We've talked about it a lot because I've pretty much done 2 sections. I pretty much covered the episode twice, to be honest, right? Like I spent like pretty much a full episode length talking about the tentacle, and then I spent a full episode length talking about like the episode itself, as I'm supposed to do. So I've definitely overrun the length of this by a lot. It's just really interesting, generally this show got me thinking, because it's so interesting how like it approaches itself, right? And I really was trying to figure out, like, is this me or is this not me? I don't know. My personal view on the show is that it's got a talented crew. I would say animators are good animators. They do well. They do nice scenes, especially like you can see in the way that characters run and stuff. They do, like, the scenes are nice, right? The voice acting is alright. There's a bit of a there's a little bit of a microphone quality dissonance sometimes between the characters, and also sometimes it feels like some characters are talking like irrationally louder than the conversation realistically upholds. I would maybe, in the script try to set the tones a little bit better, but like that's all fine. But like the main thing that I would personally recommend as a nobody as a absolute nobody is, I think that this show really should try to settle in something that it is that the others are not. Because in every detail about this show, you can find a comparable other show that is this but before. Right? And I think that it should try to find something, whether it's within the way that it's written, the way that it looks, the way that it does, like even if the style isn't too different, even if the style isn't too different than the baseline Omniscient style, just having one style all throughout, it just gets you a little different. Whether it's in the way that it's written, but in terms of humor, challenges, or whatever. In terms of how it looks, or in terms of format, if it wants to switch it up. But I don't think it wants to, because it's trying to do the early BFB, right? So that I wouldn't change. But like, that's kind of what I think. I would try to either get it to be consistent in the style, find a style that's like, this is the show, and then try to stick to it, or I would try to get the writing to be a little bit more unique. Just write things in a way that feels a little bit different. Than the rest of like the early BFB, because again, like, at the end of the day, the early BFB shows, like, they, like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. Like, they exist, they already exist, right? And because I feel like in the exact way that this episode 1 did, I would honestly be surprised if it kept like everybody's attention for a long time, because like it's nice, but it's not innovative, And when something isn't feeling fresh, it's not gonna hold the attention. So that's personally what I believe. Like again, I'm not saying I don't want that to happen. It's just an unfortunate prediction, Like it's an unfortunate feeling. I hope it doesn't happen, because of course I want to see shows succeed, but I don't know if it's fresh enough to keep its relevancy. That's all. Good luck. I'll make sure to watch, and next I'll be more positive, I promise. But I just really wanted to have a conversation like this because it was just interesting to me. Next thing. Or, I don't know. Is there a next thing? Maybe not. I don't know. Hello, okay, hold on. There's one more thing for this episode, and then I'm gonna call it. Is that basically while I was recording the last section, 4.10 actually just released. Yeah, 4.10 released. So we could take a look at it now. I think it's only deserving, right? Because otherwise this video would have released, and I would not have taken a look at the latest episode. When I think we have to do that. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And then we'll have the proper FourPoint experience fully caught up because, you know, an episode released while I was covering the other ones. And it's like, okay, dude. Oh, 4.10 is entitled A Taste of Taste. Let's jump ourselves back in one more time. Alright, that is 4.10. Now, considering this video is only going to be a couple of hours old when this catch-up releases, it'll be probably one of the earliest episode 2 catch-up coverage that there probably ever was. I mean, I know that, I've done a couple Omega Fast on purpose for TPOT releases, but, like, this is one of the interesting ones because it's entirely organic, right? Like, it just kind of happened that way. I do have to be honest, right? I'm starting to maybe run out of many things to say here because, like, it is definitely made it's starting to hit me, you know, because the other day when we did the catch up on the last episode, we did the mini boy stuff. That's similar in vibe. Here we did Battle for Bluba. Then we covered this, 3 episodes of this, and then we did like Magma as well on the other episode, which has that hyper humor as well. Like all of these things, right? It's not really got that time. Is that whatever? We're not done talking about Magma. It's all that here. So I feel like when we're reaching this right now, my brain is like, dude, what are we doing? And I am definitely feeling it right now. The 4-point rot, but anyway, we do have some additional developments. We're on a spaceship, by the way. Not exactly sure how, but we are in a spaceship as we're supposed to, I guess, be looking for something. Cheesy Mayo's here, by the way. I know, it's not the real one. Like the character that possesses the name, of course, of the YouTuber. So. They're here. That's relatively interesting. Then we're here in Among Us. Now, the Among Us crewmates ends up being the host for this time. Apparently, Watermelon skin counts as a translator, so we, of course, take the skin of the Watermelon, who ends up not being too happy about this. But we end up having the eliminated contestant be none other than our Marshmallow. Yeah, I mean, this is fair. I didn't predict this, so I did end up actually predicting something wrong. Here, I did actually predict one of the eliminations wrong. I mean, our fellow was second bottom, right? I've weighed this relatively understandable, but you can see, right, that voting pattern. Voting patterns for this show are much more based on relevancy than they are based on, like, character being good or bad, because with the way that this show's written, where everybody is somewhat unhinged and just says weird things and does weird things, right? That type of energy just gets lost, right? The energy of being a bad character, right, is kind of lost, right? There's no such thing as a mean character in a show like this, right? Like, not really. So, like, since that type of terminology is gone, a character that does actions usually doesn't get judged as good or bad. The only thing that's considered bad for a voter is the absence of doing anything at all. Right, like doing little things is so much worse than doing things. You can do literally anything. If you do things, you will be there, right? You will not get votes. But it's interesting because, again, like, it's just kind of a cultural thing about like object shows, because I'm totally a believer, and I feel like a lot of people aren't, but I'm totally a believer that different types of object shows, different styles and vibes, they absolutely foster different voting patterns, and that's the voting pattern that this one fosters. Which, you know, it's very, very interesting. Marshmallow gets sent away. Then we have the radar recover Starry that apparently just exists now. Nito just had that the entire time. However, that's actually set to swap mode. So they get shot a bottle and ends up swapping Starry with bottle, or at least the material. So the bottle is made out of star. And the Starry is now made out of glass. Alright, which, alright then. Then our glass wants to start doing the elimination. Of course, they're confused about the fact they're in a different episode. They're doing a BFB gag. You did the show while I was gone, which is, yeah, like, you know, it's a thing that that Four says after, I think, Donut? Right? Like when Donut, like when you divide by 0, you did BFB while I was gone. something like that. Basically, like, I don't actually mind the references, because I remember that I said, I think during 4.9, right, that I was a little bit that I was getting a little bit tired of BFB references. Yeah, I'm tired of BFB references. The same reference, and it does it again. By the way, you hurt us, the BFB 30, right? And then also the thing with Dona saying Fire Junior is not quite anybody like you, and like we're a team and riling him up, right? Because that's like it's done that like 4 or 5 times by now. But at least this is a new reference, you know, it's a new reference. Like, oh, hey. So that's relatively nice. Then, of course, they get a little bit desperate because, like, oh, shit, they don't got powers. And, of course, everybody wanted to murder them a couple of days ago. So, you know, they're now kind of pleading. And the other fellas feel kind of bad, so that's fair. Bottle is finally solid. What? No, you were, no, wait, that's not, no. You were already solid before. You were fragile, but you were solid. The problem is that Vortex is not solid, theoretically speaking. I mean, we technically don't know. We haven't seen the Vortex touch anybody yet. But, like, you know, like, that wasn't the problem. Like, you were still solid. You're now more solid. You're more durable, I guess. But, alright, then. That's interesting. We end up having a team swap. These new teams, they don't get names or anything, but they're a team of, like, like, this is going to be a nice way to see if I remember the names. No, I don't. No, I don't remember the names. But yeah, these are the teams. They're currently pretty irrelevant. Alright, so we end up having the challenge of being to pretty much trying to get a recovery center. Oh, that's why they're going up there. Oh, yeah. Oh, I just randomly remembered. Yeah, I was confused on why they were going up into the space for a second, but I just kind of ignored it, thinking I forgot. Yeah, I did forget. It's because we launched the recovery center to space, right? So we were going on a spaceship to try to get it back. All right, and in the meantime, we're trying to find a different recovery method. Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That's actually logic. That's fair. I ended up doing that. This ends up being... Oh, yeah, we have the return of the regular intro, by the way, because, of course, Starry is back in some capacity. But, yeah, we do end up actually having the challenge work like this. Now, this is what I mean when I say, like, this type of challenge is, like, this type of episode, because technically the challenge doesn't get completed, of course. This type of episode is a little bit more confusing on average, right? Because, like, there's the goal isn't as logical, right? Like we don't just set one thing in our mind and we look at it, right? We show, you know, like if we send each team off to do their own quest in a different way, and they're all in like different corners in different rooms, right? And usually this is good, right? Usually this is good, but like when dealt the hand of FourPoint, it can be very confused very fast when what they're doing is a ship post, right? Where like when it's not where like how do I describe this? Basically, if something is confused, hold on, let me try to find the best way to word this. So it's like if every scene it's a different set of people trying to do a different thing. That's fine because it creates variety and it's good, right? However, when we keep swapping the people and they're each supposed to be doing a thing, but they're but like, you know, the show's kind of a shitpost, so it ends up that they're doing a different thing, right? They're distracted and they're doing something random. Then because it keeps switching, it's very hard to keep tabs on what everybody's supposed to be doing, which just means that certain scenes start to feel like people are doing nothing. Like it starts feeling random because of that situation, right? Because like it you know, like, okay, I'm getting these people are supposed to get magic, these people are supposed to get this and that, but then this divided by getting 2 people going to a room, and then the other ones are going over there, and then these are distracted, and then they don't even know how to get magic, and then they're looking at the tutorial, right? And like that's what they're supposed to be doing. But in between all this, like, well, I have to keep tabs of that, I also have to keep tabs of what the fuck they're actually doing, which is always entirely different, right? Like that's kind of the best way for me to describe it. We have ourselves, by the way, more scenes in the Deadlands. So basically, yeah, this is definitely iPhone. This is 100% iPhone, and it just works like an iPhone. You could tell because of the way that they did the skit of the permadeath. That's just that's running, right? That's the timer thing. If you run, you're safe or something, right? And the other fellow by just stepping onto the red line immediately by doing the sprint, and failing. Do this, like that's the thing in II. Which is interesting. So yeah, that's just presumably where anybody who's dead goes, and anybody who is not current, anybody who's not permadead as a file, and anybody who is from a different series who also didn't get revived, right? So that's interesting. That's cool. We have some interactions with them. Funnily enough, right, when I how I said in episode 9 that like when I was of course closing all my 4-point discussions for the day, silly me. I said that this show and mainly timzipoo as like a figure should probably focal point more on being serious or being satire and expressing the inverse when it's like that, right? And you know what? It actually does that in this episode, because it does the risque jokes, but you can see how it immediately does a pullback while trying to still hit you with a joke, but a joke that kind of makes sure that the previous joke is that. Because you have here the joke of like Palm Tree being like, yo, that's my cousin or whatever, right? And it's like, well, hold on, we're all technically family members because technically iPhone made them all, right? So like under this logic, you like Clubby, so isn't that, and then it's like, yeah, that's not a thing. So basically that's an incest gag, right? Because that's like, oh, we're all made by iPhone, we're all related, so you shouldn't be debating that we're related, which is it's which is an interesting gag, but immediately, right? You end up having the Dorito, but you had a different name. I've just decided your name is Dorito. By the way, I'm sorry, your name is Dorito now. All right, there's nothing you can do about it. The Cheeto Dorito ends up saying, as a AI language model, we confirm that there's no incest going on in the show. All right, because like it's trying to do that, but it does that with the gag. All right, so as you can see, it refutes the previous joke as satire and non-serious, while at the same time trying to, of course, build in its own humor of like, oh, it's the AI gag, right? Which actually plays twice here as well. And same thing goes for the gag before of like the crayon saying anti-gay people and then needing softball to come in awkwardly and be like, we at all points support gay people, right? As like a antithesis to that was a joke, right? So it's actually clarifying that here and there, which you can tell very clearly that it's doing that. I don't mind though. I still think it's better. 100%. 100% I think it's better. I mean that if it's gonna make considering the amount of risque jokes that it already makes, defining some of the more kind of out there ones is 100% fine. Right? Like it doesn't take away from the vibe, in my opinion. It just kind of makes it a bit more ethical. I personally think it's better in that aspect. So yeah, that's pretty solid. Then let's speedrun, I guess. We end up they need to get a computer, circuit, and magic. All right, there, fellas. They don't really do this. They don't really do this. They were supposed to do that, but for some reason, Bottle brings Vortex into like a cabinet, and they proceed to say something random, and like Bottles tells a random story that doesn't have anything to do with anything, and then Vortex, who has a different voice actor by the way, is why, who knows? Who knows, bro? But yeah, they're kind of looking at each other, and then we eventually find out, after again some more distraction, that we end up getting Cheez-It to talk. We shoot a guy because of course we do, and they end up trying to find something to do. Then Plug ends up talking to Story. Plug makes the joke about Story being crackable because that's new internet slang that exists, that didn't exist when 4-Point came out, but like you can of course like literally crack the glass. But it's the most clever, I guess. I mean, it's alright, sure. I will allow it. You see, this is why I don't do joke. This is why I don't discuss the jokes. I just kind of let the jokes do what the jokes do. Because like I would just do that to every joke. I would just say this exact thing. So we're just gonna allow it. Then we eventually found out that Vortex and the Bottle had a kid, but apparently doing that is what enables the power. So this means that the Bottle has the powers back, has the powers activated from Sorry, and we can do that. Sorry wants to try to get them to give it back, but Bottle wants to find their parents and destroy them because I don't know, they made them listen to Radiohead, and they also want to destroy the story and also the viewers. Gulp. Is it over, chat? Yeah, the way one wants to destroy everybody, which might be a little bit of a problem. And then they eventually end up agreeing that they have to, of course, go stop them. In the meantime, that team is up for elimination. I guess they lose. It's the Vortex fault, you know. You couldn't have done that. So yeah, who gets eliminated? Who rejoined? Okay, well, okay, a lot of characters didn't do shit in this episode, right? Because, you know, like the symbol didn't do a lot. Like Pearl hasn't done anything for ages. Last time Pearl did a thing, I don't know. Last time Pearl did a thing, Untitled Insanity episodes were numbered, bro. Like it was crazy. But Vortex did a pretty oof, you know, like it was a pretty big oof there from Vortex, I must admit. So maybe I think it's either Pearl or Vortex. It depends. It's gonna be the biggest test. I think it's gonna be the biggest test. Is it gonna be Pearl or is it gonna be Vortex for fucking up? Or is it gonna be Pearl for doing nothing? It could also be the symbol, but I think personally I will Pearl. Pearl did less. I'm sorry, dude. Pearl's done so little. I'm telling you, I literally forgot Pearl existed until I looked at the team. So I was like, oh yeah. So yeah, and in terms of the rejoiner, I mean, it's gotta be Bottom, no? It's gotta be Bottom. It's just the most interesting avenue, right? Like maybe voting somebody else could be there, but like voting like Bottom makes way more sense. It's immediately like, you know, something's gonna happen, right? Like something interesting is gonna happening if Bottom rejoins the game, whereas if anybody else rejoins the game, it's just kind of there, right? It just kind of exists. It's kind of a thing, you know. It's just kind of just kind of the character's back, right? So I feel like that's how I'd kind of view it. So yeah, I think that the other fellas rejoining, and we aren't doing that. Again, I'm personally not voting, but you can go vote at the description below. Yes, because of the last link on the links will have the episode now, and of course, for once, I'm actually in time where you can vote on the episode by the time that by the time this episode releases. So if you're watching this on time, you can probably do that type of coverage. Anyways, yep, that's 4.10. I mean, we already did the kind of state of 4-point discussion at 4.9. I don't think this episode really changes much. I mean, it showcases, I think, a little bit more safety in, like as you can see from the fact that 2 times in this episode we write a gag and then feel the need to clarify that it's a gag, right? Like 2 times in this very episode it has to do that. So I think it does portray a little bit of safety, which I do think is a possible it's just a thing that I would recommend, you know. Like if you got the morals in the right place, I think that you know, you should really try to like, if you're gonna, like, if you got the morals in the right place where you're making risque content, risque jokes, right, you're gonna want to definitely like clarify if it's too much, or, you know, at least label the entire thing as satire all the time, right, and just like make it expressly clear immediately, right? Because like otherwise you're gonna get caught out on it eventually, you know, and then it's gonna be problems for you, you know. The internet's not so nice nowadays. Alright, that's all. Outro. Alright, that will be all for today's object catch-up. How do you feel about this episode? I don't know, it was a little weird. The wheel has definitely been interesting. I found the wheel quite fun, but it has been very edgy. The amount of edgy shows that the wheel has gotten me to water now, it's definitely quite a few, which is interesting. But, you know, hopefully by, you know, I guess slowly removing them from the list, that, you know, it'll clean itself up, even though, you know, that type of thing's going in. But I don't feel about this episode. I mean, it was, yeah. Again, it was kind of a weird episode because like, again, the wheel makes the lineups for the episodes directly, you know, a little bit random in nature, which is fair. You know, that's what the wheel's gonna do. But I do enjoy the concept. I'm down to keep it moving. I think that the viewers also enjoy the concept of the wheel, right? It gets a direct like dream, right? Where it's like when it's not being covered. Like, you can feel that the request is seen when it's on the wheel, all right, instead of it just being magically seen by me above and then needing to sort it out, right? Like, you can see it directly on the wheel. That's like, it's there, right? Like, and it just has to show up. Will it show up? I don't know. Like, you could get lucky or you could get unlucky, right? But like, again, eventually we'll get to it all, hopefully, and you know, make progress on it. But yeah, as you can see, like, you can hopefully understand. It's maybe a reason for the burnout, by the way. Like, just to have a, you know, a little bit of a chat here. It's possibly a reason for the burnout because, like, one of the things that was happening is that at the end of the day, I was nearly always caught up, like, until like December, right? You know, like, I maybe was behind on requests, but overall, the new episodes, I was there, and then I managed to do requests when I didn't have any episodes to cover, right? But after the break and then the 3 subsequent ones, I ended up falling further and further behind as there's more and more to do, and like, quite literally, and always playing catch up is and playing catch up on catch up is always tough, right? Because no matter how much you do, there's still so much left to do where, like, you don't feel like you've technically made much progress at all. I mean, like, at the end of the day, we covered stuff for 3 hours, right? And again, yes, I covered stuff for 3 hours. I did talk about TRIS for twice as long as I should have, and a lot of our sessions. So I'll say I covered 2 hours of stuff. Okay, I think that's reasonable. I covered about 2 hours of content in these 3 hours because I spent a lot of time blabbering, right? And like within this, I only got like 3 elements of the wheel down. I only spun the wheel 3 times, and I removed 2 things from it because one of them stayed on because the other fella requested a different thing later, right? So, like, you see what I mean? Like, progress is like not at all fast, which means that I think the wheel might be a possible way to do it. I have to balance it because there's certain things that I have to cover. Like, for example, you know, I gotta take a look at, like, the next episode will probably have TPOT in it, just forcibly so, and then I might spin the wheel 1 or 2 times because, like, it just like, you know, you can't wait for Jack and Jellyfish to show up on the wheel, right? Like, there's certain things that like, you gotta skip out on a little bit, right? Because or otherwise it's gonna get a little silly, right? In other scenarios, but yeah, that is kind of the situation right now. People seem to enjoy the wheel concept. I seem to enjoy creating it as of right now. So I think I am gonna keep that up. Anyhow, that is all for today's episode of Object Catchup. How about we see you next time? Goodbye.